Chapter 49. The Wolf King angrily glared at Yu Qinghan and the parrot, constantly growling and threatening them. Coiling Tiger and the rest saw that the Wolf King was actually afraid of Yu Qinghan, a young man who was only at the early stage of the blood ignition realm. They were both surprised and happy. "Brother! Save our lives. Once we get out of this forest, we will definitely repay you." Coiling Tiger swallowed a few true elemental dawn and took the opportunity to recover his strength. He did not forget to ask for help. "Young master, save us. These fire cloud wolves seem to be very afraid of you." The two lucky survivors and the only remaining young man had their clothes torn and were riddled with wounds. Seeing Yu Qinghan, they finally saw hope and hurriedly begged. Yu Qinghan's killing intent was too heavy. Every move of his was linked to the general situation. As a human, it was very difficult to detect. However, these intelligent animals could easily sense the threat from Yu Qinghan. "Big wolf dogs, scram! You are blocking the master's path." The parrot looked at the dozens of wolves and disdainfully said. The Wolf King let out a low howl. More than 20 fire cloud wolves bared their teeth and howled. They all rushed towards Yu Qinghan. These low-level vicious beasts liked to live in packs. They had high intelligence and were very united. Especially the fire attribute fire cloud wolves. The fire poison in their teeth was very strong. Even if a blood ignition realm expert was bitten, if they were not treated in time, they would very likely die. However, these fire cloud wolves were very easy to deal with. They revered the fire element and were afraid of all creatures that could breathe fire. They would worship powerful creatures that could breathe fire as gods. In his previous life, the Yi clan had raised many fire cloud wolves to guard their home. Breathe fire and drive them away. Yu Qinghan did not stop and quickly walked towards the Wolf King. "Hua!" The parrot opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of fire. The Wolf King was startled. It immediately lay down and howled, expressing its submission. "Ha ha ha! This divine bird said that I was a high-level divine bird. These big wolf dogs are afraid of me." Seeing the Wolf King submit, the parrot immediately became very cocky. The Wolf King surrendered, and so did the 20 or so fire cloud wolves behind it. They all looked at the parrot in a different way, as if they were mortals looking at a god. "Tell them to retreat. Don't waste time," Yu Qinghan said coldly. He no longer wanted to communicate with this stupid bird. The parrot shouted, "Get up, walk 2 laps, and get the hell out of here." The Wolf King understood human nature and understood what the parrot was saying. It hesitated for a moment, then got up and circled around twice. Then, it led the pack of fire cloud wolves and rushed into the distance. Yu Qinghan glanced at Coiling Tiger and said in a low voice, "You guys wait here for me. I need a tour guide later." Yu Qinghan's simple stare caused Coiling Tiger's entire body to tremble, as if he was being stared at by a bitter sea stage expert. Even if he was at the peak of the blood ignition stage, he did not dare to refute Yu Qinghan's words. "Yes, young master." Coiling Tiger respectfully replied. Yu Qinghan took the parrot and rushed towards a valley in front of him, leaving the 4 people looking around in horror. "Uncle Tiger, is that person senior? Why does his cultivation seem so ethereal, like he's at the blood ignition stage, but also like a bitter sea stage expert?" one of the young girls asked in shock. "I don't know, but I also have the same feeling. His entire person seems ethereal. However, he saved our lives, so let's not think too much about it. You guys quickly recover your strength. We'll wait for him for a while," Coiling Tiger said in a low voice. Their mood was very gloomy. Looking at the bitten corpses, they felt as if their hearts were being cut by a knife. The powerful Coiling Tiger battle squad was very united. Their relationship with each other was like that of a life and death situation. Losing 2 of their core members in one go was definitely painful. Within the valley, Yu Qinghan scanned his surroundings. The beautiful environment with green mountains and clear waters, with tender willows hanging on the surface of the lake. A gentle breeze blew, causing layers of waves to appear. It was too beautiful to behold. At the bottom of the lake, there are treasures. They're definitely worth a lot. The parrot was incomparably excited. It stared at the large lake for a while and said with satisfaction, "The bottom of the lake is very safe. There are no large beasts. Don't worry, I'll keep watch for you on the shore." Yi Qinghan clearly did not believe the words of this lowly bird. His divine sense passed through the surface of the lake and went straight to the bottom. He discovered that the lake was more than 10 meters deep and there were indeed no large beasts. In the center of the lake, there was a large black iron box that emitted a faint pressure. If he did not take the initiative to go to the bottom, he would not have discovered this iron box. The iron box attracted spiritual energy to continuously gather at the bottom of the lake. It was very strange. Plop! Yi Qinghan jumped into the bottom of the lake. Holding the heavy berserk blade, he quickly reached the bottom. He discovered that the spiritual energy at the bottom of the lake was so dense that it was almost liquid. He could not help but marvel at what was inside the iron box. It was actually able to gather so much spiritual energy at the bottom of the lake. Good water. If I can use the water at the bottom of the lake to refine purple light wine, the effect would definitely be 4 or 5 times stronger. Yi Qinghan secretly said to himself. He grabbed the iron box and placed it into the heaven and earth ring. Then, he took out a heaven and earth pot and filled it with more than 500 pounds of lake water. He quickly went ashore. Using his true essence to dry his clothes, Yi Qinghan took out the iron box. He discovered that the iron box was actually completely sealed. There were no gaps, but the inside was hollow. Moreover, there were treasures hidden within. This kind of thing could only be created by a high-level refiner. Just this iron box alone could be worth several hundred low-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan forced out a drop of blood essence to make the iron box recognize him as its master. With a move of his divine sense, the iron box automatically opened, causing his eyes to brighten. It was a very delicate set of spirit-gathering swords. The 4 swords were about 2 feet long, sparkling and translucent. They emitted a bejeweled aura and actively gathered spiritual energy. Yi Qinghan held them in his hand and discovered that the spiritual energy was constantly rushing into his body. What a clever refiner technique. She actually managed to put a spirit-gathering array into the 4 swords. This refiner is definitely a clever woman. It is impossible for a man to be so meticulous. Yi Qinghan could not help but admire this refiner. He would not be able to learn this refiner technique in a short period of time. Otherwise, if he could put a high-level spirit-gathering array into the heavy wild saber, he would be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Yi Qinghan casually played with the swords a few times. He discovered that the 4 swords were connected to each other. Once they were touched, they would move the entire body. They were unpredictable and were already comparable to a 5th-grade spirit treasure. Unfortunately, they were too light and not suitable for him to use. Giving Meng Shi is not bad. She is a qi refiner and specializes in the soul. She can control the swords. Yi Qinghan stared at the swords and pondered for a long time. He still could not figure out how this refiner managed to put such a high-level spirit-gathering array into the 4 swords. Master, not bad, right? I am very useful, right? No matter how deeply hidden a treasure is, I can find it within 100 li, the parrot said smugly. Yi Qinghan could not help but admire this kind of gifted little thing. Although it did not seem very useful and would only cause trouble for him, its treasure-hunting ability alone was enough to make anyone drool. It is indeed not bad. Wait until we enter the city. I will let you have a good meal. Yi Qinghan put the 4 swords back into the iron box and put them back into his spatial ring. Then, he stepped out of the valley. Coiling Tiger and the others looked at Yi Qinghan with reverence. They did not dare to ask anything and only spoke a few words. "Young master, may I ask where you are going?" "I am very familiar with the surroundings several hundred li. I am at your service at any time," Coiling Tiger said respectfully. "Take me out of the forest. Explain to me the third rank and above forces in ancient Lulan." Yi Qinghan said indifferently. "I know." A woman dressed in sexy clothes quickly said. "Let me introduce you. I am Coiling Tiger, a loose cultivator. This older girl is Huafei, 19 years old. The younger girl is her younger sister, Huaye, 18 years old. We are all side family members of the Hua clan. This boy is Chen Sung, an orphan, 20 years old. He is an expert treasure hunter of my Coiling Tiger squad." Coiling Tiger pointed at the remaining 3 people. They were all in the blood ignition realm despite their young age. This was due to the location. The spirit chi here was abundant. There were many in the blood ignition realm, but not many in the bitter sea realm. However, there were many more in the bitter sea realm than in the Azure Sun Kingdom. "And, let's talk as we walk." Yi Qinghan looked at them and nodded. These people could not be considered geniuses. Their aptitudes were average. If they had good resources, it would be good if they could reach the Grotto Heaven realm. There was no need to waste time. The 5 of them walked slowly. The other 4 collected spirit herbs while explaining the division of forces in ancient Lulan to Yi Qinghan. In ancient Lulan, there were 2 fourth-rank forces. One was the Lulan imperial family and the other was the Buddhist sect. Each fourth-rank force had more than 10 third-rank sects or clans. They were very powerful. In Flaming Cloud City, the Hua clan was a third-rank force. The area within 500 li of Flaming Cloud City was the territory of the Hua clan. The Hua clan had more than 1,000 adult disciples. Their cultivation was not inferior to the early stages of the blood ignition realm. There were no less than 5 experts at the 3rd star of the bitter sea realm or above. "Is there a spirit treasures pavilion here?" Yi Qinghan asked. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion is a force that covers the entire continent. Even 4th-rank forces are not willing to offend them. Naturally, they can stand firm in ancient Lulan, Huafei explained. However, Flaming Cloud City hasn't been peaceful recently. I don't know what's wrong with the auction house, but they actually supported a vicious force to rise up here. They fought with the Hua family several times, and both sides suffered great losses. These people went around snatching female cultivators, and now, they won't even let men go. Everyone who was captured by them mysteriously disappeared. Coiling Tiger looked at Yi Qinghan's vigorous face and thought for a moment before saying, "Young master, be careful. Don't leave the city at night because they target outsiders. They will pay special attention to strangers who come to Flaming Cloud City." I know. Yi Qinghan did not care about the vicious force that Coiling Tiger mentioned. If someone could kidnap him, then something would really happen. However, the auction house was a legitimate force. It existed in almost every continent. For them to secretly support such a force, there must be a motive. What he really needed to pay attention to was the auction house. The group of 5 walked out of the forest after 6 hours. A large ancient city appeared in front of them. It was many times larger than Jiangning County. Ancient buildings rose from the ground. The city walls were more than 30 meters high and were surrounded by formations. Even if hundreds of bitter sea realm beasts attacked the city, they would be able to resist for several months. Yi Qinghan followed Coiling Tiger and the others to the outskirts of Flaming Cloud City. He discovered that there were several strangely dressed people staring at him. Their gazes were as if they were looking at goods. He could not help but sneer. Chapter 50. Yi Qinghan's lips curled into a sinister smile. Anyone who dared to plot against him in this world would either die or wait for death. The city defense army was stationed there. These people would not go so far as to capture prey in broad daylight, but they watched as Yu Qinghan entered the city. The moment he entered Lulan's fire cloud city, a desolate aura assaulted him. It was as if he had returned to the ancient era. Yu Qinghan looked at the layers of ancient buildings and felt as if he had returned to the Battle Owl Star. His heart palpitated. "Take me to the restaurant and you can leave," Yu Qinghan said in a low voice as he thought of Owl Warstar. "Young Master Yi, it's not convenient for you to stay in a restaurant alone. Moreover, you're not familiar with this place. They'll trick you. Why don't you stay at my place?" Hua Fei's eyes flickered as she spoke timidly. "That's right, big brother Yi. Our house is located in the periphery of the Hua clan. There's only the two of us at home. Our parents left us such a big house with many empty rooms. It's very convenient. Moreover, you've just arrived at Flaming Cloud City and will definitely need a guide. We can help you at any time." Perhaps it was Yu Qinghan's vicissitudes of life and arrogance, or perhaps it was his devilishly handsome face, or perhaps it was his mysterious aura that attracted the sisters to take the initiative to extend an olive branch and invite a strange man to stay in their home. Staying in Hua Fei's home wasn't a problem in itself. In fact, it might even attract trouble. But Yu Qinghan truly needed a guide so that he wouldn't wander around aimlessly. If someone could act as a guide, that would naturally be good. "Is it convenient?" Yu Qinghan's voice was a little hoarse. After 2 days of running around, he really didn't want to move around anymore. "It's convenient. My house is not far from here. It's in the suburbs, so it's very quiet," Hua Fei said excitedly. When Qinsong saw Hua Fei take the initiative to invite Yu Qinghan, hostility and dissatisfaction appeared in his eyes. However, he told himself in the depths of his heart not to go against this mysterious man, so he restrained his hostility. Yu Qinghan nodded and said, "All right, I will pay you 100 taels of gold a day as a reward." Hua Fei and her sister's eyes lit up, clearly very happy. Coiling Tiger bowed and said, "Young Master Yi, thank you for saving my life. If you have any problems, you can come to the Western District to find me. If it's within my power, I won't disappoint you. All right, let's go back." Yu Qinghan gestured for Hua Fei to lead the way, and the three of them quickly ran towards the East District suburbs. Qinsong clenched his fists. The hostility in his eyes surged again as he glared at Yu Qinghan. "Don't go against him. He's very dangerous." Coiling Tiger coldly reminded Qinsong when he saw the angry Qinsong. "Uncle Hu, is this person really that strong? He didn't even make a move. It was only that little parrot on his shoulder that could breathe fire. Why don't we kill him and take his parrot? It will be much safer for us to enter the forest in the future," Qinsong viciously said. "What nonsense are you spouting? First of all, he saved us. How can we repay his kindness with enmity? Moreover, I admit that I am not his match. Even if we join hands, we might not be his match. Moreover, looking at Hua Fei and Hua Ye's attitude, I'm afraid that they have fallen in love with this man." Coiling Tiger coldly warned Qinsong, it wasn't easy for you to reach this step. Don't let love get to your head. Hua Fei doesn't love you, nor does Hua Ye. They might look carefree, but they like the feeling of being conquered. If you want to marry either of them, you have to be stronger than them. Moreover, you have to suppress the younger generation of Flaming Cloud City. Otherwise, you won't have a chance. I can't accept this. I've liked Hua Fei for so long, and she actually invited another man to her home in front of me. Moreover, it's a stranger. I haven't received this kind of treatment in so many years." Qinsong was incomparably furious. Flames spewed from his eyes. He wanted nothing more than to burn Yu Qinghan to death. "Sigh, why bother?" Coiling Tiger shook his head. He stared at Yu Qinghan's departing figure and said in a low voice, "With my many years of experience, this child is definitely not an ordinary person. Hua Fei can't pursue him, but you still have a chance. However, you have to change your temperament. Otherwise, you will be the one to suffer. Finally, Coiling Tiger pulled Chen Sung back to the western region. Yi Qinghan followed the two beautiful sisters to a simple courtyard. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers. There were very few people, and it was very peaceful. Big brother Yi, you should rest for a while. I'll boil some hot water for you to take a bath. It will be dark soon. If you have something to do, we can do it tomorrow. How about it? Hua Fei didn't hide her adoration as she excitedly asked. Sure. Yi Qinghan was incomparably cold. He wasn't willing to say more. Hua Fei brought Hua Ye to arrange a small courtyard for Yi Qinghan and then left to get busy. Yoho, a hot beauty. Take. Take. The parrot grinned and said in a strange voice. Take your sister. Get lost. Don't bother me if you have nothing to do. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. Are you a man or not? You don't like men, do you? You're two beautiful sisters, and you're so hot. Why don't you take the initiative to come to my door? The parrot was dissatisfied, as if it had suffered a loss. Yi Qinghan coldly looked at the parrot. A cold light flickered in his eyes, and the parrot immediately fell silent. What a blockhead. This divine bird went to look for treasures. There are actually many good things in this city. The parrot resentfully left. It didn't know how much trouble it would bring to Yi Qinghan. Half an hour later, the two beautiful sisters brought a bucket of hot water. Yi Qinghan soaked in the bucket, using the stone milk essence to refine his body. Unfortunately, he needed too much energy, and the stone milk was no longer of any use. True essence swam through his limbs and bones. The extreme divine dragon steps turned into specks of golden light that dived into every corner of his body, fusing with the violent cycle saber arts. The tiny figure in his sea of consciousness crazily cultivated, and the large saber danced without any flaws. His soul had completely stabilized at the peak of the blood ignition realm, but his strength remained at the middle stage. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment and felt that it was time to break through to the peak of the blood ignition realm. He then took out the Sky Spirit Ginseng. The Sky Spirit Ginseng's spiritual energy was overwhelming, and it was vivid and lifelike. Even a heavenly passage realm powerhouse couldn't swallow it, but Yi Qinghan could. This was because his method of controlling true essence had already reached the pinnacle. Yi Qinghan placed the grade 4 spirit sword set on the bed and chewed on half of the Sky Spirit Ginseng. Boundless spiritual energy rushed out, rushing through his limbs and bones. His blood boiled, and his blood became extremely tyrannical. His true essence roared like a river bursting through a dam. Boom boom boom, his true essence constantly broke through the bottleneck, and a small portion of it was used to temper his body. It seemed that Yi Qinghan was preparing to forge his body into a divine weapon. His physical body was enough to destroy the heavens and earth, and he could control 10,000 spirits with one hand. Even an emperor weapon could not harm him. Now he was certain that a grade 2 spirit weapon could not harm him in the slightest. Even if an early-stage bitter sea expert used a grade 2 spirit weapon, he could still shatter it with one punch. The pressure grew stronger and stronger, enveloping the entire room. Hua Fei looked at Yi Qinghan's room. Just as she was about to approach, she was pushed back several meters by a wave of energy. Although the energy was gentle, it could rush into the depths of her sea of consciousness, filled with tyranny and arrogance. The realm of the gods, entering meant certain death. What a strong man. If we can make him stay, we may be able to break through to the Hua family's direct line of descent. Hua Fei's eyes flashed, and her jade-like hands trembled as she pulled Hua Ye. Sister, will he stay? Hua Ye's breathing quickened as she asked nervously. If I can't do it alone, then you go too. I don't believe he can resist the charm of the two of us. Hua Fei said proudly. The two of them could not be considered to be devastatingly beautiful, but in terms of temperament, appearance, and knowledge, they were confident that they would not lose out to any woman in terms of taking care of men and pleasing them. Huiye's face flushed red as she timidly looked at Huofei. Thinking of the two sisters serving the same man at the same time, her little heart beat uncontrollably. We sisters are one, there is no distinction between each other, let alone a man. Such a man is worthy of us. Huofei said in a serious tone. And I'll listen to sister. Huiye's face was as tender as a sprout. Remember, you have to understand men. This kind of man is old-fashioned and definitely does not like unrestrained women. We have to know when to advance and when to retreat. Charming but not seductive, beautiful but not unrestrained. We have to move his heart, not his body, understand? Huofei said in a low voice. The parents of this pair of sisters had passed away early, and they relied on Huofei to make a living. If they were not smart, they would not have lived so freely. It was very likely that they would have become the slaves of others, or even died long ago. Yi Qinghan was focused on breaking through, so he didn't know that these two beautiful sisters were discussing how to take him in. At this moment, his true essence had already formed into waves. Wave after wave spread out, creating huge waves that were several meters tall that surged within his qi sea. He was already close to the peak of the blood ignition realm. His soul did not forcefully comprehend the bitter sea stage, but instead focused on activating his true yuan. His true yuan was like a heavy wild blade, extremely tyrannical and invincible. Everywhere it passed, there was nothing that did not submit. Woo, the waves of qi formed a special heavy wild blade, formed from his true yuan. It was like a real person wielding the heavy wild blade, striking at the bottleneck. The bottleneck broke, and the bottleneck that was as stable as a boulder quickly collapsed under the continuous attacks. Heavenly divinity transformation, true yuan like a blade, wild in all directions, reversing the heavens, attacking madly, subduing the world. Break for me. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. The heavy wild blade that was placed beside the bed let out a light hum, trembling, as if it was about to collapse. Bang, attacking madly, the bottleneck was completely shattered. His true yuan whizzed past, forming a cycle within his body that constantly circulated. Huofei and Huiye were enveloped by a terrifying pressure, as if they were facing an unparalleled expert. Their breathing was somewhat heavy, and their eyes were filled with fear and awe. Yi Qinghan did not care so much. He gathered more and more true yuan, but it was not enough. He did his utmost to temper his body, and the little person in his body was also cultivating the extreme divine dragon steps and the heavy wild blade technique. It was as if his soul had been split into two, controlling his true yuan. To outsiders, this was somewhat inconceivable. The remaining heavenly spirit ginseng was also swallowed by Yi Qinghan. He then restrained his aura, and the entire courtyard fell into silence. Even the birds did not dare to make a sound, and the insects also disappeared. Chapter 51. The moonlight was like water, illuminating the world and illuminating the night. Yi Qinghan walked out of his room and stretched. He felt refreshed as he bathed in the moonlight and took a deep breath of spirit energy. It was as if he could feel the laws of heaven and earth. Young Master Yi, it's time to eat. Huofei looked at Yi Qinghan in a daze. She felt that Yi Qinghan had become even more mysterious and ethereal. She had a feeling that she couldn't grasp him. Okay. Yi Qinghan nodded and followed Huofei to the main hall. There was a table full of delicious food and spirit fruits. It was hard to tell that Huofei was a chef. Yi Qinghan's appetite was greatly increased. He ate a few mouthfuls and praised, "Not bad, you're a master chef. It's good that young Master Yi likes it. I was afraid that my cooking skills were not good enough and would hurt your appetite." Huiye smiled and said modestly. Yi Qinghan smiled. He couldn't understand a woman's mind. She had been cultivating for hundreds of years. Now that she had lived a second life, she only wanted to take revenge and slaughter those hypocrites in Xiaolong region. After dinner, Yu Qinghan scanned the surroundings with his consciousness but didn't find the parrot. He asked Hua Feier, "Have you seen my parrot?" It said that it went out to look for treasures. "Young master, your parrot is so cute. It can speak human language and breathe fire. It's very smart." Hua Feier smiled. Dozens of miles away, the Hua family's spirit fruit garden was planted with large amounts of fire spirit fruits, ginseng, and other spirit herbs. This was an important place for the Hua family. Even the direct descendants had to report to the Hua family. Anyone who entered without permission would be killed without mercy. The spirit fruit garden was a few kilometers wide and was surrounded by arrays. Birds couldn't fly. A small white bird didn't fly. Instead, it crawled forward and lay on the ground like a dog. It had lost its bird status. Waha, so many spirit fruits. They are all treasures between grade 2 and grade 3. The parrot had discovered this place from several kilometers away. It was the middle of the night, and the Hua clan was confident in their spell formations. Their defenses had been lax, and the parrot had managed to sneak in. It was the harvest season in the orchard. The plump fruits and spirit grasses made people drool. There were at least dozens of spirit fruits on each fruit tree. The dragon fruit was shaped like a fire dragon. It was vivid and lifelike. Its scarlet skin was incomparably fresh and tender. It made the parrot's eyes shine. The milky moonlight made the color of the parrot's feathers even brighter, and the cosmos ring on its claw was even more dazzling. It was probably the only bird with a cosmos ring. "I'll take it. Collect. I'll take them all. Master is such an idiot. He won't accept women, and he won't accept treasures. I wonder if his brain is made of wood." The parrot was in a particularly bad mood. He grabbed the spirit fruit and shoved it into the ring. The parrot plucked all the feathers from the geese. Wherever it passed, except for the dried green fruits, all the good things were taken away by it, especially the dragon fruit, which was full of fire elements. It was the parrot's favorite, and it couldn't wait to take away the dragon fruit tree. There were tens of thousands of ginseng, and all of them were second-grade spirit fruits. Some of them were hundreds of years old, but most of them were only a few years old. They couldn't be used as medicine, but they were the essence of the Hua family. The parrot's nose was like a dog's nose. It picked up more than a dozen ginseng, and none of them were less than 200 years old. Gee, the Hua family is really rich. Master is really shabby compared to them. Forget it, I don't dislike him. Robbing the rich to help the poor is this divine bird's favorite thing to do. I'll rob some money to help him. The parrot shook its head. It had an exasperated look on its face, and it made people speechless. The cosmos ring had a built-in space of dozens of square meters, but it was unexpectedly stuffed full. There were more than 300 dragon fruits, more than 200-year-old ginseng, several spirit grasses, and countless other spirit fruits. The parrot was somewhat reluctant to leave the orchard. It hid in the woods and began to eat. It didn't disturb anyone until midnight. It took advantage of the darkness of the night, and ran back home. Yu Qinghan looked at the parrot, who had a guilty conscience. He couldn't help but ask curiously, "Where did you go?" "Nothing. I was bored, so I went out for a stroll," the parrot said in a serious manner. It obviously wanted to take care of the house by itself. It was best to have good things in its own hands. "Impossible. You've put on a lot of weight. You must have eaten a lot of spirit herbs." Yu Qinghan glanced at the fat parrot, and found that it had really put on a lot of weight. It wouldn't be able to fly if it continued like this. Put on a lot of weight? Impossible. I've been eating only vegetables recently. The parrot was angry. It opened its eyes wide and glared at Yu Qinghan. It found that he had taken out a mirror and aimed it at it. In the mirror, there was a fat parrot. It looked like a round ball. It had already become unrecognizable. Fuck! Who is this? The parrot screamed. It was scared by its own reflection in the mirror, and quickly jumped back. You pig, if you get any fatter, I'll definitely roast you and eat you. Yi Qinghan snorted and threw the mirror away. The spiritual energy in the parrot's body was extremely dense. It was comparable to a 4th-grade spirit pill. If it continued for a long time, it could become a 9th-grade spirit pill. Yi Qinghan suddenly suspected that the ancestor of this devouring soul parrot had been roasted and eaten by its owner in the end. I'm on a diet. There's nothing to eat. Hee, master, you go to sleep. I'm going to exercise. The parrot laughed and hurriedly ran out of the room. The next day, Yi Qinghan and the others had not even woken up when chaos broke out outside. The Hua clan had sealed the city, and a large number of Fire Qilin army had been mobilized. It was clear how angry the Hua clan was. Go and investigate. So many treasures were lost in the spirit fruit orchard, and you can't find any clues. You might as well die. The Hua clan elder was furious. He pointed at the guards and scolded them. Grand Elder, we found a dozen dragon fruit cores. They are very fresh. They were eaten last night. A Fire Qilin army member quickly handed over a dragon fruit core that had been eaten clean. The Hua clan's Grand Elder, Hua Feng, had a head of white hair. He was so angry that he was trembling. Looking at the clean core, his eyes were filled with cold flames. Damn it, they ate it clean. Hua Feng clenched his fists and said coldly, continue to investigate. See if there are any other clues. For example, footprints. Even if there's an extra strand of hair, find it. The Hua Fei, sisters brought Yi Qinghan to Adventure Street. That was where adventurers bought and sold spirit herbs and spirit fruits. Why are there so many Fire Qilin army in the city? Hua Ye, asked curiously. The Fire Qilin army was the Hua clan's strongest weapon. There were only 3,000 people in this army, but the lowest cultivation level was at the 9th body refinement stage. They had a strength of over 10,000 pounds. More than half of them were in the blood ignition realm. The middle stage of the blood ignition realm was the captain, while the peak of the blood ignition realm was the superintendent. 1 captain, 10 superintendents, and 30 big teams. Each big team had 300 people, and each big team was divided into 10 small teams. Each small team was led by a blood ignition realm cultivator. This kind of army was the reason why the Hua clan could occupy a big city. A small team walked towards them. They were neat and orderly, patrolling back and forth. Wherever they went, no one dared to stop them. The parrot knew why the Hua clan was so popular. It felt a little guilty, so it chose to remain silent at the beginning of the day. It laid on Yi Qinghan's shoulder, its big eyes constantly looking around. On Adventure Street, the young masters and young ladies of the rich families waved their feathered fans and swaggered around, trying to find suitable herbs for cultivation. Yi Qinghan spread out a blanket and took out a large amount of 2nd-grade spirit herbs. His figure was tall and straight, and his aura was extraordinary. With the heavy berserk saber on his back, he stood out from the crowd, attracting the attention of everyone. Come to buy spirit herbs and spirit fruits. Barter. You can pay with gold or spirit crystals. Hua Ye, took the initiative to call out. True spirit herb, jade bamboo, fire spirit herb, purple spirit fruit, almost everything was available, and there were even a few 3rd-grade spirit herbs that were very valuable. The handsome man set up a stall, and the beautiful woman called out. Instantly, it attracted the attention of many young masters and young ladies of the rich families. They all gathered around, and some of the peddlers' eyes lit up, as if they had found a treasure. Yi Qinghan looked at the spirit herbs on the stall, but his divine sense was surrounding the crowd. He knew that most of the people were not here to buy, but to watch the show. A handsome young man pushed the crowd aside and looked at Yu Qinghan arrogantly and coldly asked, "So it's the beautiful sisters of Flaming Cloud City? So brazenly selling spirit herbs with a strange man, aren't you afraid of offending your admirers in the city? This is our freedom. Fourth brother Hua, you don't have to worry. Do you want to buy spirit herbs and spirit fruits? I can give you a 10% discount." Hua Fei asked indifferently. This fourth brother Hua was not to be trifled with. He was the direct disciple of the Hua clan, Hua Si, an expert of the younger generation. He was at the middle stage of the blood ignition realm and was of famous existence in Flaming Cloud City. "I don't care about such low-grade spirit herbs. These spirit herbs are not old enough." Hua Si looked coldly at Yu Qinghan and deliberately provoked him. Yu Qinghan felt the hostility and slightly raised his eyes. His gaze was like a sharp arrow that shot into Hua Si's eyes. Hua Si's heart tightened, and he felt as if he was about to stop breathing. Especially his eyes, it was as if he had been attacked. He cried out in pain and quickly retreated. "You dare to sneak attack me?" Hua Si took a few steps back and coldly shouted with narrowed eyes. Hua Fei's expression turned ugly. She did not want to offend this direct disciple, so she could only bow and say, "Fourth brother Hua, these things are all mine. Why do you have to make things difficult for us, the Hua clan's external relatives?" "He is not an external relative of the Hua clan. Little sister Fei, I am not deliberately making things difficult for you. As a direct disciple of the Hua clan, I naturally have to consider the safety of Flaming Cloud City. I am even more worried that you will be deceived by him." Hua Si sneered. Yu Qinghan pulled Hua Fei over. Against someone like Hua Si who didn't know what was good for him, he could only use a slap to intimidate him. He did not want to waste any more words. This is Adventure Street, a street for adventurers and businessmen. If you want to buy, I will sell. If you want to cause trouble, you have picked the wrong person. Yu Qinghan's eyes shot out a cold flame. His aura burst forth and pressed down on Hua Si. Outsiders could not sense Yu Qinghan's aura, but Hua Si felt as though he had jumped into an ice cave. His entire body was cold and he did not dare look straight at him. His spine was drenched in cold sweat. What an arrogant person. He actually dares to offend a direct disciple of the Hua clan. Isn't he afraid of trouble? He is probably an outsider who doesn't know what's good for him. In Flaming Cloud City, there are not many people who can offend the Hua clan and walk out of Flaming Cloud City alive. A few youths in the surroundings were whispering. When Hua Si heard the crowd helping him, he wanted to erupt with his aura to compete with Yu Qinghan. However, Yu Qinghan's aura increased once again. Just his aura alone sent him flying 5 to 6 meters away. Chapter 52. When Hua Si heard that everyone was helping him, he was just about to unleash his aura to compete with Yu Qinghan. However, Yu Qinghan's aura exploded again, and just his aura alone sent him flying 5 or 6 meters away. Just you wait. Hua Si staggered and almost fell. His expression changed. He knew that Yu Qinghan was not to be trifled with. He secretly said that and retreated. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They didn't expect Hua Si to leave without leaving any harsh words. It was really an unprecedented first. "Handsome, how much is the fire spirit grass?" A luxuriously dressed woman crossed her arms and stood with a few servants beside her. It seemed like her identity was not simple. "The market price is 5 taels of gold per stalk. There are 200 stalks here. If you want them all, it will be 900 taels of gold." Yu Qinghan said indifferently. "I'll buy them all." "Handsome, what's your name? Can we get to know each other?" the beautiful woman asked generously. Hua Fei's face was filled with hostility. She glared at the woman as if someone was eyeing her treasure. She said with dissatisfaction, "Miss Ling, what are you trying to do? Do I need you to care what I do?" Hua Fei Others like you, but it doesn't mean that I like you. Why don't you open your eyes and look at yourself? Other than your chest being bigger, what else is better than me? Miss Ling was naturally the little princess of the Flaming Cloud City's Ling family, Ling Piaomiao. Not only was she a famous beauty in the city, but she was also in existence with great wealth. If it wasn't for her strange temper, people would have come to the Ling family to propose marriage. Ling Piaomiao and Hua Fei glared at each other without any intention of backing down. My name is Yu Qinghan. Thank you, please pay the bill. Customers were gods. Yu Qinghan would not give up a large order just for his name. He packed up all the fire spirit grass and handed it to Ling Piaomiao. Yu Qinghan, good name. My name is Ling Piaomiao. You can call me Piaomiao. Here is 1,000 taels of gold. Keep the change. This lady has money. If you agree to have lunch with me alone, I'll take all the herbs in your hands. Ling Piaomiao looked at Hua Fei, provocatively with a mocking smile. I am from the alchemy pavilion. How many spirit grass do you have? We'll take them all. The price is negotiable. Right at this moment, another rich and overbearing force came. His voice was low and deep, attracting everyone's attention. When Yu Qinghan heard this, he immediately took out all the spiritual herbs and spiritual fruits from his interspatial ring. These things were useless to him, including the stalactite essence. It would be a good idea to sell them and exchange them for some spirit crystals. When the people from the Medicine Refinement Pavilion saw the milky stone essence, their eyes lit up. This milky stone essence was the best material for refining pills. Normally, if a single drop of milky stone essence was added into a pill, it would become a high-grade pill. Ah, stone milk essence. So many, I want them. Ling Piaomiao said domineeringly. Our medicine concocting pavilion wants all of them. Fellow Taoist, state your price. The middle-aged alchemist from the medicine refinery pavilion said coldly. Do you think I'll take them all just because you say so? This lady took a fancy to him first. Even if you want to bully someone, you should know who they are. Ling Piaomiao shouted coldly. The two of them were anxious, and neither of them was willing to give up. The parrot's eyes flickered. It suddenly stood up and said, Idiot, the highest bidder will get it. The starting price is 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals. 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals could get more than 500 pounds of milky stone essence and thousands of spiritual herbs. The price was not cheap, but it was not expensive either. It was just the market price. When the parrot suddenly spoke, everyone was shocked. Ling Piaomiao was overjoyed. She pointed at the parrot and said to Yu Qinghan, I'll buy them all for 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals, including this parrot. Damn! Are you stupid? This divine bird is not for sale. Even if you sold your whole family, you still wouldn't be able to afford me. The parrot said disdainfully. The parrot was so arrogant and strange that Ling Piaomiao liked it more and more. Women were always weird and liked strange things like this. Young Master Yi, can you give me a straightforward answer? Ling Piaomiao's interest in the parrot suddenly exceeded her interest in Yu Qinghan. It's not for sale. I'm only selling these things now. 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals. Whoever can afford it can take it, Yu Qinghan said in a serious tone. My medicine refinery pavilion will buy it. Young Master Yi, right? Here are 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals. We'll take all of these herbs. The alchemist said without hesitation. The alchemist was different from Ling Piaomiao. He bought spiritual herbs for alchemy, not Ling Piaomiao, who bought them for flirting. 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals was just a drop in the ocean for a money-burning organization like the Medicine Refinery Pavilion. Huang Yaoshe, you want to steal from me? I'll pay 1,050 low-grade spirit crystals. Ling Piaomiao said angrily. You're really a spoiled brat. Although the Ling family is rich, it's not enough to make my Medicine Refinery Pavilion back down. I'll pay 1,100 low-grade spirit crystals. Huang Yaoshi said coldly. You dare to scold me? Ling Piaomiao's face darkened, revealing her bad temper. No wonder the younger generation stayed away from her. I'm too lazy to talk to you. If you have the ability, ask your father to come find me. Huang Yaoshi was also an eccentric old man. He was too lazy to talk to this kind of girl. He turned to Yi Qinghan and said, Fellow Taoist, can we sell it now? Yes. Yi Qinghan did not hesitate. He handed over his yin and yang ring and paid 1,100 low-grade spirit crystals. Then, he handed over all the spiritual herbs and stalactite essence. Wait. Put down the spiritual herbs and spiritual herbs. I suspect that these are stolen goods. Take them all and we'll talk about them after the investigation. A cold voice sounded. Then, more than 10 small teams of Fire Qilin army rushed into the adventure street. A superintendent at the peak of the blood ignition realm appeared. He was extremely powerful and led a group of people to surround Yi Qinghan. The parrot trembled and lay on Yi Qinghan's body, pretending to be dead. The real stolen goods were in its yin and yang ring. Yi Qinghan still did not know that the parrot had stolen so many spiritual fruits and spiritual herbs from the Hua clan. When he saw these people coming for him, he thought that the idiot Hua Si was deliberately looking for trouble. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he reached for his heavy berserk saber. Stolen goods? Whose stolen goods are these? You better think carefully before you speak. Who lost more than 500 jin of stalactite essence? Yi Qinghan coldly questioned. It's the superintendent of the Chaotic Fire Pavilion. He's a famous expert in our Flaming Cloud City. He's cold-blooded and tyrannical. Don't provoke him. Hua Fei saw that it was the Chaotic Fire Pavilion and her heart sank. She knew that today's matter would not be easy. She quickly reminded Yi Qinghan not to be rash. Yi Qinghan snorted and took a step forward. He looked straight at the Chaotic Fire Pavilion and waited for an answer. 500 jin of stalactite essence. The Chaotic Fire Pavilion's eyes lit up. He did not hide his greed and sneered, Brat, you dare to steal from my Hua clan? Men, take him away. Wait. Huang Yaoshi frowned. He put all the herbs and stalactite essence into his yin-yang ring and said, I know very well whether these are stolen goods or not. Moreover, I paid for them. Even if they are stolen goods, you took his money. It has nothing to do with me. However, these things are mine. Wait a moment. Put them down first. Chaotic Fire Pavilion, tell me clearly today. Does this stalactite essence belong to your Hua clan? Yi Qinghan coldly asked. Yes. My Hua family lost a lot of things today. All of them are rare medicinal herbs. I suspect that you got them from the Hua family's forbidden area. Chaotic Flame Pavilion replied without hesitation. Clearly, he wanted to rob the 1,100 low-grade spirit crystals. Superintendent Hua, I can prove that these do not belong to the Hua clan. Moreover, Mr. Coiling Tiger from the Coiling Tiger Squad can also prove that you must have misunderstood. Hua Fei did not care about offending the big shots of the Hua clan. You can prove it. Who do you think you are? Right now, I suspect that you are accomplices. Arrest them all. Chaotic Fire Pavilion shouted. Behind him, more than 100 Fire Qilin army soldiers rushed over and surrounded Yi Qinghan's group. Unrelated people, leave immediately. Otherwise, you will be punished as accomplices. The army clamored. More and more soldiers poured into Adventurers Street. The adventurers were angry, but they did not dare say anything. Even the Adventurers Guild did not want to say anything. Ling Piaomiao and the others quickly left and ran to the periphery. When they saw Hua Fei, her sister, and Yi Qinghan's group surrounded, some people gloated while others shook their heads in pity. The parrot squinted at Chaotic Fire Pavilion and said inwardly, "This bastard is courting death. Tonight, I'll burn down your lousy courtyard." Yi Qinghan unsheathed his heavy berserk saber. His eyes were like torches as he stared at Chaotic Fire Pavilion and said coldly, "You better have your superintendent talk to me. Otherwise, don't blame me for starting a massacre." Ha ha ha, what did I hear? A Blood Ignition Realm rookie actually dares to talk about starting a massacre in my Flaming Cloud City's Fire Qilin army? Did I hear wrongly? Chaotic Fire Pavilion mocked loudly. Ha ha ha, this is hilarious. Superintendent, there's no need to talk nonsense with him. Let us go. The Fire Qilin army laughed. Yi Qinghan and the parrot squinted their eyes into a line. The coldness in their eyes was getting thicker and thicker. Their hatred for the Hua clan was rising. "Master, what should we do?" The parrot felt that it was in the wrong and did not dare to say anything. It secretly transmitted a message to Yi Qinghan. "Those who dare to have designs on me will either die or wait for death. However, please wait. I don't want to cause trouble for Hua Fei, and her sister." Yi Qinghan replied. "What if they make the first move?" The parrot asked. "Of course, I'll kill them." Yi Qinghan's aura burst out. His clothes and black hair fluttered without any wind. What a powerful aura. Did I offend the wrong person? He doesn't look old. Could he be a disciple from a wealthy clan? Chaotic Fire Pavilion was secretly shocked. Yi Qinghan's aura was definitely stronger than his. "Who are you? Where are you from? Don't cause any misunderstandings between us." Chaotic Fire Pavilion did not want to offend the wealthy clans and took the initiative to ask. "Yi Qinghan, from the Azure Sun Kingdom. I just arrived at Flaming Cloud City yesterday. The things your Hua clan lost have nothing to do with me. If you think I'm easy to bully, then feel free to come." Yi Qinghan was neither servile nor overbearing. He did not want to offend or retreat. Once he heard that Yi Qinghan came from a remote village, he no longer cared. Chaotic Fire Pavilion waved his hand and shouted to the crowd, "Take him down. Our Hua clan lost something the moment he arrived. Who else could it be but him?" Chapter 53. Hundreds of Fire Qilin army soldiers followed Chaotic Fire Pavilion's orders and moved neatly towards Yi Qinghan. They advanced and retreated in an orderly manner, cooperating with each other and intimidating everyone. Hua Fei, and Hua Ye's faces turned pale. They knew how powerful the Fire Qilin army was. A small team could quickly suppress an early stage or even middle stage Blood Ignition Realm martial artist. Now, there were at least 2 large teams of Fire Qilin army soldiers. Even a peak stage Blood Ignition Realm martial artist couldn't escape. "Young Master Yi, why don't we give him the spirit crystals? Let's get through this first." Hua Fei, might be afraid, but she was very calm. She whispered to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's killing intent gushed out. His vital essence poured out and gathered on the heavy frenzy saber, emitting a dazzling saber light. Boom! Kacha, he attacked crazily. The 7-feet-long saber slashed out horizontally. His vital essence was unstoppable. Before the Fire Qilin army's momentum reached its peak, Yi Qinghan took the initiative to attack. The 5th-grade saber pierced through the Fire Qilin army's defense. Long spears were broken on the ground. The Fire Qilin armor couldn't block the sharp attack. Ah! Pooh! In the blink of an eye, the 3 teams of people were cut in half at the waist and died on the spot. There were also some people who were swept away by the Zhen Yuan. The sharp Zhen Qi poured into their bodies and shattered their vitality. From the outside, it looked like they only had superficial wounds, but they were already dead. Courting death. Yi Qinghan shouted angrily. He danced crazily and pounced into the Chaotic Fire Qilin army. After a series of slashes, no one was a match for him. The Fire Qilin army was forced to retreat, screaming miserably. Blood flowed like a river on Adventure Street. Everyone was dumbfounded. Chaotic Fire Pavilion's body was cold. The shock in his eyes was indescribable as he kept retreating. You dare to kill my Fire Qilin army? Chaotic Fire Pavilion didn't know what was good for him. He still wanted to use his family's power to intimidate Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan used the sharpest second-grade basic saber art to reply to Chaotic Fire Pavilion. He killed a few people with one saber. The second-grade spiritual weapon was like tofu, weak in front of Yi Qinghan. Shua shua, the saber radiance shot out in all directions, slicing through iron like it was mud. With one man attacking, 100 enemies would not be able to break through. Not only did he force back hundreds of Fire Qilin army soldiers, but he also killed more than 70 of them in the blink of an eye. More than 100 of them were severely injured and lying on the ground. Hua Fei, and Hua Ye's eyes were filled with fear. In their eyes, the Hua family was an undefeatable existence. Just the Fire Qilin army alone had more than 3,000 people. In addition to the Hua family's direct disciples and outer disciples, there were close to 10,000 people. It was too easy for them to kill someone below the Grotto Heaven realm. Hua Fei, how dare you team up with outsiders to kill members of my Hua family? The Chaotic Fire Pavilion didn't dare to face Yi Qinghan. Instead, he took a detour and pounced toward Hua Fei, The ominous glint in his eyes was extremely terrifying. Parting blade. Yi Qinghan swung his heavy frenzy saber, and the long saber spun and killed tens of people. Once again, the saber returned to his hand, and the Fire Qilin army didn't dare to attack again. They immediately retreated. At this time, Hua Wanchuan had already arrived in front of Hua Fei, How could these two little girls be a match for someone at the peak of the blood ignition realm? They were suppressed by the powerful raging flame palm to the point where they couldn't even breathe. They could only wait for death. You're courting death. Yi Qinghan was enraged. He slashed his saber on the stone floor and rushed forward. He waved his hand and shouted in a deep voice, 8 Division Heavenly Dragon Palm. Palm images danced in the sky. Each palm was capable of seizing a person's soul. They drew on the momentum and directly attacked Chaotic Fire Pavilion's back. Chaotic Fire Pavilion only felt a bone-piercing pain from his back. He hurriedly gave up on killing Hua Fei, and jumped to the side to escape. Yi Qinghan struck out 8 times in a row. His aura suddenly changed. A transcendent aura shot out, and a huge dragon image roared out from his body. Roar! Roar! The huge dragon was like a true dragon, sweeping across the land. It swam through the adventurer's street and opened its bloody mouth to bite Chaotic Fire Pavilion. Its speed was frightening, causing people to feel despair. Chaotic Fire Pavilion didn't dare to look back. He only wanted to escape from this palm attack as soon as possible. However, the huge dragon seemed to have eyes. No matter how he changed direction, it would quickly capture him. Hong! In an instant, the huge dragon's body surrounded Chaotic Fire Pavilion. Its mouth was filled with fangs that could shatter mountains. It swooped down from the sky and ruthlessly bit Chaotic Fire Pavilion. Ah, no! Chaotic Fire Pavilion cried out miserably. His blood dyed the ground red. He constantly brandished his spear, wanting to shatter the huge dragon image. However, compared to Yi Qinghan's strength, the difference was like the difference between heaven and earth. His body was swept up by the huge dragon and rushed into the sky. It was too terrifying. Huang Yaoshi's face was deathly pale. Ling Piaomiao was so frightened that she couldn't speak. She was so intimidated by the barbaric and manic Yi Qinghan that she couldn't even move her legs. Hoo, everyone's breathing quickened. They felt as if there was a breath stuck in their chests that couldn't be released. What palm technique is this? It can actually strike out with the Heavenly Dragon's descent. Yi Qinghan was too lazy to look at everyone's expressions. The icy flames in his eyes were thick. Since he had already taken action today, he had to intimidate all the rascals in Flaming Cloud City. Hung! Yi Qinghan stabbed his heavy wild saber into the ground. His tall and straight body surged with energy. His robes fluttered in the wind. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan stepped in a strange position. His vital essence connected to the huge dragon image. His palm slammed towards the fleeing Fire Qilin army. Hung! The huge dragon tore Chaotic Fire Pavilion apart. It swooped down from the sky and attacked the Fire Qilin army. Ah! Quick, run! Oh my god! Who is this person? Quick, inform the elders in the tribe. Inform the superintendent. The Fire Qilin army was famous for its strict military discipline. However, at this moment, there was no such thing as military discipline. Escaping was the most important thing. However, how could their speed compare to Yi Qinghan's True Yuan giant dragon? The True Yuan giant dragon swept through everything in its path, sweeping up all the debris on the ground. It was so powerful that even the corpses were swept into the distance. Hua hua hua. Hung! The Vital Essence huge dragon was extremely violent. It exploded in the middle of the Fire Qilin army. Blood dyed the sky and the earth. The surrounding houses collapsed. Broken bodies fell down. The explosion shook the entire Adventure Street. Chaotic Fire Pavilion was bathed in a river of blood. He struggled on the ground. The piercing pain in his soul and body woke him up completely. He looked at Yi Qinghan in despair. His eyes were full of viciousness. You are dead. No matter who you are, you will die a horrible death for killing so many of our Hua family. Chaotic Fire Pavilion did not look for himself. Instead, he pushed all the blame to Yi Qinghan. It seemed like this Chaotic Fire Pavilion deserved to die. Yi Qinghan's eyes glowed. Without any pity, he took a step forward and stepped on Chaotic Fire Pavilion's chest. Did my stone milk essence belong to your Hua family? Did I steal your Hua family's spiritual herbs? Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. It was soul-stirring. His killing intent was extremely dense. Without a doubt, if Chaotic Fire Pavilion dared to frame him again, he would not hesitate to crush Chaotic Fire Pavilion's body. It's not from the Hua family. It's a misunderstanding. Mr. Yi, please don't be rash. Chaotic Fire Pavilion hurriedly begged for mercy. Is that so? If the people outside can't hear, then I will bear the bad name of a thief. Yi Qinghan slowly squatted down and looked down at the struggling Chaotic Fire Pavilion. The killing intent in his eyes was self-evident. Mr. Yi is definitely not the person who stole the Hua family's spiritual herbs. This old man's eyes were blind. I beg for Mr. Ye's forgiveness. I am willing to compensate for the loss of Mr. Ye's reputation. Chaotic Fire Pavilion did not care about his reputation as he begged for mercy. Everyone looked at each other. They had never seen a Fire Qilin army superintendent beg for mercy. The Hua family had always been powerful in Flaming Cloud City. Even a 4th-grade sex disciple would have to lower his head. As the saying went, a strong dragon could not suppress a local snake. However, Yi Qinghan was too ferocious. If a local snake dared to raise its head, he would smash its head down. If it dared to open its mouth, he would pull out its poisonous fangs. I will only give you one chance. I don't care how you explain today's matter to the Hua family. However, if they are like you, I will not give them a second chance. Scram! Yi Qinghan coldly said. Yes. I will scram now. Chaotic Fire Pavilion nodded continuously. He was afraid of angering Yi Qinghan. When he felt Yi Qinghan lifting his foot, he quickly got up and fled. Yi Qinghan swept his gaze across the crowd. His warning was very strong. Even Huang Yaoshe and Ling Piaomiao, who had strange personalities, felt their hair stand on end. They were not willing to offend him. "Let's go," Yi Qinghan said to Huofei. Huofei was ready to pull out the heavy berserk saber and give it to Yi Qinghan. However, she found that she had to use all her strength to pull it out. The heavy berserk saber was not something that just anyone could use. Everyone watched as Huofei used all her strength to pull it out. Her chest became even bigger, making her look very funny. However, no one dared to laugh. Yi Qinghan faintly smiled. He reached out and took the heavy berserk saber. Then, he left Adventure Street with the two beautiful sisters. "Take me to buy some pills. I want pills that are 3rd grade and above," Yi Qinghan indifferently said. The Spirit Treasure Pavilion was a gathering place for pills. Over there, as long as you had the money, there was no pill that you could not buy. Of course, this was only limited to 5th grade and below. This was because there was no 5th grade alchemist on Owlfall Planet. The three of them walked. The parrot was unusually silent. It was so strange that it made Yi Qinghan suspicious. "Little guy, did you steal the Huo family's spirit fruit garden?" Yi Qinghan asked. "No." The parrot replied seriously. "Really?" Yi Qinghan sneered at the parrot, an ominous glint in his eyes. "Ahem, I took a little. However, it seems that I did not lose anything. Otherwise, I would have been wronged by them. I would have been angry for master." The parrot laughed. Yi Qinghan was speechless. This bastard really did not want to make things difficult for him. "Master, can you buy me a bigger yin-yang ring?" I can't fit it," the parrot said helplessly. "Didn't you only take a little?" Yi Qinghan sneered. "Yes, the space inside the ring is too small. It's full," the parrot said, feeling wronged. Yi Qinghan, fortunately, the space inside the ring was small. Otherwise, the parrot would have taken the Huo family's spirit fruit garden. After arriving at the Spirit Treasure Pavilion, Huofei and Sun Fei looked at the dazzling array of treasures. Their eyes shined, especially the high-quality fire attribute spirit pills. These were necessary for them to cultivate the flame palm. Unfortunately, a single 3rd grade fire attribute spirit pill cost over 1,000 gold taels. They could not afford it. Huofei and Sun Fei both had fire attribute constitutions. The fire element in their bodies was very rich. They were extremely suitable for cultivating fire attribute cultivation methods. However, their family's basic palm technique, the flame palm, was too low grade. It was only a 1st grade. Yi Qinghan could see the light in their eyes. He felt that there was nothing wrong with helping them. At the very least, when he was in trouble, they did not choose to abandon him. Instead, they were prepared to fight with the chaotic fire pavilion. The 3rd grade red flame palm is more suitable for them. Even someone like Sun Fei, who does not have a fire attribute constitution, can use it. The red flame palm should be able to flourish in their hands. Yi Qinghan thought about it. He felt that he owed them a favor and should give them a way out. Chapter 54. Yi Qinghan wantonly bought pills. He wanted to use up all the gold and gold notes he had. These things were useless at crucial times, and they were not as useful as pills. Huofei and her sister's eyes were wide open. They looked at Yi Qinghan's rich and willful appearance as he threw out hundreds of thousands of gold without blinking. They were dazzled by his generosity. "Give me 20 fire spirit pills." After Yi Qinghan bought what he needed, he set his eyes on the fire spirit pills. He had decided to nurture this pair of beautiful sisters. Huoya swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said to herself, "My goodness, my sister and I have to think for a long time before buying one," but he bought 20 in one go. What a tycoon! Tall, rich, and handsome. High and mighty. spending money like dirt. It was as if all the good points could be linked to Yi Qinghan. Huo Fei, was also shocked speechless by Yi Qinghan. All right. For a big customer like you, we will definitely give you a 10% discount. The waiter's eyes were sparkling. He treated Yi Qinghan as a god of wealth. What if it's your Spirit Treasures Pavilion's honorary winemaker? How much discount can you give? Yi Qinghan took out a golden token. On it was engraved the word glory. It was a soul-stirring sight. The waiter's face turned green with fright. He fell to his knees and kowtowed repeatedly. I didn't know sir was coming. Please forgive me. Get up. Don't disturb the others. Yi Qinghan said in a very low-key manner. Yes. Sir, you are very honorable. We will give you at least a 50% discount. However, I will have to inform our store manager. The waiter said respectfully. Go. Tell him not to spread the news. I don't like crowds. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. The servant left. Huo Fei, and Huo Ye, were completely dumbfounded. It turned out that Yi Qinghan was not only a tall, rich, and handsome man, but also a respected and honorable winemaker. A winemaker recognized by the Lingbao Pavilion. No matter what, he had to be a winemaker above the 4th rank. Young master. Huo Fei muttered. She wanted to bow, but she didn't know how to do so. She was completely stupefied. There's no need to be so polite. I'm not your Huo family's honorary winemaker. Yi Qinghan was very calm. He didn't see this identity as an honor at all. With this token, he could buy things in the Lingbao Hall at a discount, which was much more practical than the so-called honor. Not long after, an elegantly dressed middle-aged man quickly ran over. He looked at Yi Qinghan with a puzzled expression. He was somewhat doubtful about the authenticity of Glory's winemaker. Sir, may I know your name? We haven't been notified by our superiors yet, so we didn't know that ancient Lulan had a glorious winemaker. Could you please show me the token? Zhu Sheng was the person in charge of the Lingbao Hall's Flaming Cloud City in ancient Lulan. He had great authority, but he didn't dare to blaspheme the Glory's winemaker recognized by the Lingbao Hall. Even if he suspected that Yi Qinghan was a fake, he didn't dare to say anything too unpleasant. Yi Qinghan was indeed too young. Anyone else would be suspicious, so Zhu Sheng's attitude didn't displease Yi Qinghan. He casually took out the token and tossed it to him. This one is Yi Qinghan from the Qingyang Kingdom. This token was given to me by Qin Zheng, Yi Qinghan said calmly. Qin Zheng? Zhu Sheng was stunned. He seemed to understand something. The Lingbao Hall was the Qin family's property. Only they had the right to issue honorary tokens. Each one was extremely precious. Zhu Sheng looked at the token carefully and found that it was indeed the most valuable treasure of the Lingbao Hall. Each token represented an elder. Even if they didn't have any real power, their status was very respected. Greetings, Mr. Yi. This one is Zhu Sheng, the head deacon of the Lingbao Hall in Flaming Cloud City. You can call me Little Zhu. Zhu Sheng respectfully returned the token to Yi Qinghan and bowed. Mr. Zhu, you don't have to be so polite. I just want to know how much discount I can get for the things I buy. Yi Qinghan put away the token and asked with a shrug. It seems like Qin Zheng didn't tell you the use of the token. Zhu Sheng cupped his fists and explained, the glory token represents an elder of the Lingbao Hall. Wherever you go, in times of emergency, you can transfer 10,000 low-grade spiritual crystals and below from the Lingbao Hall. You can pay it back within 3 months. If you buy things from the Lingbao Hall, you can get a 30% discount, 10,000 low-grade spiritual crystals. A 30% discount. These benefits really moved Yi Qinghan. It seemed like the Tier 4 pill recipe that he gave away was finally being repaid. Alright then. Give me another 50 Tier 3 Fire Spirit pills and 3 Tier 3 Universe rings. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and said in a serious tone. All right, please wait a moment. I will immediately pack them up and send them to you. After Zhu Xing finished speaking, he got the servant to prepare them and led Yi Qinghan into the private room. Mr. Yi, if you have any urgent matters in Flaming Cloud City or if it is inconvenient for you to do them, just tell little Zhu. I will definitely do it for you. Zhu Xing respectfully expressed his goodwill. Yi Qinghan looked at the shrewd Zhu Xing and knew that he wouldn't be able to take advantage of him. However, there was no need to offend him. As a local overlord, his words might be more effective than the head of the Hua clan. All right, I don't need anything for the time being. I will still be here for a while. If there is any trouble, I hope Mr. Zhu can help me. Yi Qinghan nodded and said. Not at all. Mr. Yi is young and talented. You will definitely have a great future in the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. If there is a chance, I hope you can promote me. Zhu Xing smiled and said. Mr. Zhu is too polite. If there is a chance to go to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's headquarters in Qing Province, I will definitely recommend you. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and said, Mr. Zhu, Qinghan still has matters to attend to. I will take my leave now. May I know where Mr. Yi lives? If it is inconvenient, you can come to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's Guest Welcoming Pavilion. This is the place to welcome guests. It has its own spirit gathering array. Normally, I am not qualified to stay here. When Zhu Xing saw Yi Qinghan leaving, he immediately expressed his goodwill again. There is no need. I will be staying at Hua Fei's house for the time being. Yi Qinghan handed over 200,000 gold and took the things he bought. Then, he left the city center with Hua Fei and Yiya. Along the way, Hua Fei and Huya were very cautious. They didn't dare to act as casually as before. Before, they were thinking about how to make Yi Qinghan stay, but now, they were thinking about how to make Yi Qinghan take them away. Their status as a direct descendant of the Hua clan didn't seem so noble anymore. After returning home, Yi Qinghan sat in the living room and gave all the fire attribute Spirit Dawn to Hua Fei. Their eyes lit up and they were extremely excited. In their opinion, Yi Qinghan still had them in his heart. Otherwise, why would he spend so much money on them? Hua Fei, Huya, you two are cultivating a low-grade flame palm. Its power is not strong. I will teach you a third-grade fire attribute martial skill called Scarlet Flame Palm. It is 10 times stronger than your Hua clan's Raging Flame Palm. However, this martial skill is very vicious. Not only will it harm the enemy, it will also harm the user. If you are not careful, you will be poisoned by the fire. Therefore, when you cultivate it, you must not be too hasty. Yi Qinghan warned them. Third-grade fire attribute martial skill. Scarlet Flame Palm. Hua Fei's body trembled. The Hua clan's strongest Raging Flame Palm was also a third-grade martial skill. However, it was only a lower-grade martial skill. Yet, it was able to intimidate a large city. From this, one could see the importance of martial skills. If she had the upper-grade Scarlet Flame Palm, her and her sister's achievements would definitely surpass the Hua clan's ancestors. The highest level of this martial technique is the peak of the Bitter Sea stage. If you are lucky enough, you may be able to enter the Step on Air stage of the Heavenly Passage stage. It is not a good martial technique, but it is very suitable for you. Yi Qinghan said calmly. Thank you, young Master Yi. We sisters are unable to repay you. Please accept us. We cannot help you fight against the enemy, but we can at least take care of your food and shelter. We will warm your bed in the winter. We will not complain. Hua Fei said respectfully as she knelt down. Huya also knelt down. She looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly, hoping to receive affirmation. However, Yi Qinghan shook his head without hesitation. He helped the two sisters up and passed on the Scarlet Flame Palm's training route, mantras, and his previous life's experiences to them. He said hoarsely, I am just a wild man. I do not need anyone to serve me. With this martial skill, you will be able to stand firm in ancient Lulan. I do not need to worry. Huo Fei did not expect Yi Qinghan to reject her so straightforwardly. Her face darkened and she said sadly, sigh, a young talent like young Master Yi is not someone we can covet. We are not even worthy of warming your bed. Do not belittle yourself. In this world, everyone is equal. There are no lowly people, only lowly people. If you look down on yourself, why should I look up to you? What's more, I have my reasons for rejecting you. I am helping you because you have helped me. I recognize your character. A rank 3 fire attribute martial skill is nothing to me. You do not need to feel burdened. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Huo Fei listened to Yi Qinghan's words and was shocked. She was even more in awe of Yi Qinghan. Fei understands. Thank you for your advice. If you need us in the future, we will repay you with our lives. Idiot, do you want to find a fairy? You are destined to be alone for life. The parrot was dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan's performance. It said disdainfully and turned away to continue sleeping. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. Before he took revenge, he did not care about feelings. Because his enemies were all the Dao sovereigns and great revered martial artists in the entire Shaolong region. Yeah, you serve the young master. I will go and cook. Huo Fei left the room. Huo Ye's face was red. She poured a cup of spiritual tea for Yi Qinghan and went behind Yi Qinghan. She stretched out her hand and gently pinched his shoulder. Her strength was just right, and Yi Qinghan's tiredness was swept away. Yi Qinghan did not refuse. Otherwise, the two sisters would be even more reserved. The parrot did not disturb the two of them. It flew out of the living room and landed on the treetop. It enjoyed the nourishment of the sun. Its fat body was stretched out lazily. After the three of them finished their lunch, they were preparing to cultivate. An uninvited guest came. It was an extremely arrogant supervisor from the Huo clan. You are Yi Qinghan. The great elder wants to see you. Come with me. The visitor ordered coldly. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. It seemed that the matter with the Huo clan was not over yet. The cold flame in his eyes became colder and colder. The temperature in the room dropped rapidly. Chapter 55. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. It seemed that the matter with the Huo family was not over yet. The cold flames in his eyes became colder and colder, and the temperature in the room dropped rapidly. The newcomer was covered in cold sweat from Yi Qinghan's aura. He kept retreating until he reached the door, and his eyes were filled with fear. Say what you just said again. Yi Qinghan said coldly. My Huo family's great elder wants to see you. He wants to invite you over. The newcomer finally passed on the Huo family's great elder's words. Isn't that an order? Yi Qinghan suddenly stood up. His aura rushed out of his body and pressed down on the newcomer. No. The newcomer gritted his teeth and his legs trembled. He lowered his head and said softly, It's Huo Chen who doesn't know how to speak properly. Please forgive him. Huo Chen. Go back and tell your great elder that if he wants to see me, tell him to come and see me personally. Also, in the future, anyone who enters this house must first knock on the door. Because from the moment I arrived, this place belongs to me and not the Huo family. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan's voice was low as he suppressed the aura within 100-meter radius. It also suppressed Huo Chen's soul. I understand. I will pass this message to the Huo family. Huo Chen did not dare to refute, even if this was the Huo family's outer force. Go. I hope that the next Huo family member who comes is not an idiot. My patience is limited. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, indicating that he could leave. Hua Chen did not dare to say anything and quickly left the courtyard house. Hua Fei watched Yi Qinghan wave his hand to retreat and suppress the Hua family's elder. Her heart was in turmoil, and her eyes were filled with admiration. That kind of confidence and arrogance was not something that anyone could imitate. Yi Qinghan's aura came from the soul of a great martial saint. It came from the accumulation of 1,000 years. Even a Grotto Heaven Realm expert might not dare to go against him. Don't worry. Before I leave, I will definitely suppress the Hua clan. If they want to die, I will slaughter them. From now on, the Hua clan will be under your control. Yi Qinghan revealed a bewitching smile that sent chills down everyone's spines. In front of Yi Qinghan, Hua Fei and Hua Fei had become women without any thoughts of their own. Even if Yi Qinghan were to make all sorts of unreasonable requests, they would happily accept them and not refuse. You guys can leave. Practice your crimson flame palm well. I believe you won't be disappointed, Yi Qinghan calmly said. Hua Fei and Hua Ye didn't dare go against Yi Qinghan's will. They bowed respectfully and left. Dong dong dong, after a few crisp knocks on the door, 2 figures stepped in. Coiling Tiger has come to pay his respects to Mr. Yi. Coiling Tiger and Qin Sung arrived at Hua Fei's home one after the other. Coiling Tiger bowed and asked to see Qin Sung, but Qin Sung was constantly sizing up the courtyard. His gaze wandered as if he was observing the environment. What's the matter? Yi Qinghan stood up and walked into the courtyard. Looking at the two, he sensed Qin Sung's strangeness. Today, I learned that young Master Yi fought with the Hua clan. I know that you have a deep understanding of the martial path, so I came to ask you a few questions. I wonder if young Master Yi can answer my doubts. Coiling Tiger respectfully asked. What questions? Yi Qinghan indifferently asked as he walked over to the stone table and sat down. I am stuck at the peak of the Blood Ignition realm and can't enter the Bitter Sea realm. I hope young Master Yi can give me some pointers. Coiling Tiger bowed. Yi Qinghan looked at Coiling Tiger's respectful attitude and couldn't help feeling satisfied. On the path of cultivation, those who reached the top were the teachers. Those who could sincerely ask others for pointers were worthy of being nurtured. What is the Bitter Sea realm? Yi Qinghan was slightly startled and asked. I, Coiling Tiger, have chased after you for several years and know nothing. I hope young master can answer my doubts, Coiling Tiger respectfully asked. The sea of bitterness rises from love and hate. No one in this world can escape the control of fate. The most painful memories of life gather together, forming the sea of bitterness. The Bitter Sea stage is also known as the Heart Demon stage. Only by overcoming one's heart demon can one reach the true Bitter Sea stage. There are many Bitter Sea stage experts in this world, but the majority of people have not overcome their heart demon. They only use strength to forcefully advance to the next level. But in the end, they will be stuck at the peak of the Bitter Sea stage, and will never be able to step into the Heavenly Passage stage. When Coiling Tiger and the others heard Yi Qinghan's explanation, their bodies trembled as if they had been enlightened. Some of the vague questions suddenly became clear. They could reach out and touch the Bitter Sea realm, but they were still lacking a little bit. Yi Qinghan stood up, a bleak aura pervading the air. Coiling Tiger looked at Yi Qinghan's back and felt as if he was looking at an endless sea with surging waves. He was a lonely boat that could be swallowed by the waves at any time. Different experiences, different realizations. The current Yi Qinghan and the Yi Qinghan of the past had different realizations of the Bitter Sea realm. Because he had experienced many more things, he had experienced the pain of his clan being exterminated. If he overcame his heart demon once more, he would become even more powerful in the future. Yi Qinghan's memories were pulled back. Looking at the void, he felt as if he was looking at the past. A man in a blade rushing through the battlefield, surrounded by countless martial revered experts. He could only watch as his clansmen died one by one, Owl Warstar was shattered, and his best brother fell into the sky with a single sword. But he couldn't escape the tearing of fate. Clenching his fists, a bleak aura pervaded the air, enveloping the entire courtyard. Coiling Tiger was startled. He didn't think that his question would actually trigger Yi Qinghan's heart demon, causing him to cross the Bitter Sea realm. At this moment, he was even more clear about what the Bitter Sea realm was. Hua Fei, and Hua Ye's expressions were sorrowful. They were also grieved by Yi Qinghan's bleak aura. Looking at Yi Qinghan's heart-wrenching back, they really wanted to go up and hug this man who made them feel both sorrow and joy. Walking through the rain, walking through the sun, walking through the mud, walking through the Bitter Sea realm. Even if no one can understand, one must still firm one's Tao heart. One must be as steady as a boulder. One must walk forward and never look back. His hoarse voice infected everyone's emotions. Coiling Tiger and the others looked at his proud back and seemed to have understood many things. Their grief made them even more resolute. Yi Qinghan slowly walked to the side of the garden. Raising his head slightly, he forcefully stopped comprehending the Bitter Sea realm. He had his own plans. He didn't want to quickly enter the Bitter Sea realm. In this life, every step he took had to be firm and steady. Coiling Tiger, go and recall the past that you don't want to mention the most. The stronger your heart demon, the greater your future achievements will be. If you can't overcome your heart demon, you will turn into the devil path and only know how to kill. If your mind is strong enough, you can still control your heart and continue to live in this world. If your mind is not strong enough, your qi and blood will quickly burn away. In less than 3 years, your qi and blood will be exhausted. Many thanks for young master's explanation. I understand a lot now, said Coiling Tiger excitedly. You and I are fated. I'll give you another sentence. If your heart is bright, even if the universe is dark, you can still see your own path. If your heart has no path, even if the great Tao fills the sky, you will still walk to hell. Grasp the Tao in your heart. If your Tao exists, your heart demon will not exist. Yi Qinghan nodded. Yes. Young master is right. Coiling Tiger became even more respectful. He no longer treated Yi Qinghan as a young man. Go. Make some preparations before breaking through. There's no harm in doing so, Yi Qinghan said with a smile. I thought it was something amazing. Turns out, it was all nonsense. I didn't have the slightest comprehension. What a waste of time. Chen Sung suddenly exploded and said with disdain. Coiling Tiger, Hua Fei, and Yi Qinghan's expressions suddenly changed. They didn't expect Chen Sung to be so rude. They couldn't help but feel angry. Clearly, they were already standing on Yi Qinghan's side. Yi Qinghan gave Chen Sung a deep look. He knew that this fellow was jealous. He couldn't help but laugh at himself and shake his head. Since it's useless to you, then don't listen. Go. That's right, no one asked you to come. If you don't want to listen, then leave. My family doesn't welcome you. Hua Fei coldly said. Leave my family. Young master spoke so well, yet you still dare to insult him. You are truly unreasonable. Hua Ye angrily glared at Chen Sung. This was the first time she was so angry at someone. Chen Sung seemed to be even angrier. Hua Ye and Hua Fei had always been the leader and had never been angry at him. However, ever since Yi Qinghan appeared, they had completely forgotten about him. The hatred in his eyes was self-evident. He hated Yi Qinghan for ruining his plans. He also hated the sisters for being fickle, liking the new and abandoning the old. Actually, this was only Chen Sung's self-righteousness. Hua Fei and Hua Ye had never said that they liked him. Perhaps Chen Sung only fancied Hua Fei's status as a branch family member of the Hua clan. Moreover, she had such a good foothold in Flaming Cloud City. Moreover, His ambition was even greater. He wanted to take in both Hua Fei, and Hua Ye, at the same time and enjoy the blessings of having two lovers. Good. Good. I'm leaving. Hua Fei, Hua Ye, in the future, you will beg me. Chen Song was furious. He flicked his sleeves and left. His eyes flashed with killing intent. Yi Qinghan looked at Chen Song's eyes as he left. He knew that this youth had gone mad. In the future, he would definitely oppose him and Hua Fei, Young Master Yi, Chen Song is too young and doesn't know any better. He has been blinded by love. Please don't lower yourself to his level. Coiling Tiger helplessly said. I won't bicker with him. However, he better not make me do anything. Otherwise, there will be no room for discussion. You should leave as well. Yi Qinghan calmly waved his hand. He already had a plan in mind. After Coiling Tiger left, Hua Fei, and Hua Ye, began to cultivate on their own. With the Scarlet Flame Palm and the Fire Spirit Pills, their progress was extremely fast. Yi Qinghan swallowed a large amount of spirit pills to refine his body. His flesh and blood body had turned into a diamond body that was hard to injure with blades and swords. He was as immovable as a mountain, but when he moved, mountains would crumble and the earth would crack. Yi Qinghan's cultivation method was very unique. It was almost entirely through meditation. The little person inside his body would use all kinds of strange and powerful moves. Using Jin Yuan, it would raise a storm in his sea of consciousness. This kind of meditation cultivation method was very advantageous. Not only could it cultivate secret arts, but it could also enhance one's soul perception, increase one's reaction speed, and change one's moves. 4 hours later, Yi Qinghan felt that there was no point in cultivating like this. He stood up and walked to the front yard. Looking at the scenery around him, he felt as if he was one with the heavens and earth, unshakable. The great elder of the Hua family stood alone in the distance, overlooking Yi Qinghan. His brows were tightly knitted. He could see that Yi Qinghan was very strong. Whether it was walking or admiring the scenery, it was impossible for others to attack. He had never seen a person who could subconsciously maintain an offensive and defensive mentality while walking. This was not because Yi Qinghan was deliberately maintaining vigilance, but because it was an innate habit. Erupting in an instant, his berserk battle strength could instantly shatter any sneak attack. Chapter 56. Yi Qinghan slowly turned around, gazing into the distance. His eyes were like torches, locking onto the figure of the great elder of the Hua family. Great elder Huafeng was taken aback. He did not expect that even though he and Yi Qinghan were several miles apart, Yi Qinghan was still able to discover him. What a strong perception ability, is it a coincidence? Huafeng could not believe it. With a single step, he crossed 100 meters, galloping quickly towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was like a javelin, standing straight with his hands behind his back, waiting for Huafeng to arrive. The battle strength of the 5 stars of the Bitter Sea stage was much stronger than Situ Yunshao, but it was not enough to cause much damage to Yi Qinghan. This old man is Huafeng, the great elder of the Hua family. Greetings to young Master Yi. Huafeng had white hair, but after all, he was a person who had seen the world. He was not like the other members of the Hua family, who had their eyes on top of their heads and did not put anyone in their eyes. Well, what has fellow Hua come here for? Are you also here to question me for stealing your family's 500 kilograms of stone milk essence? Yi Qinghan asked indifferently. Cough cough, young Master Yi is too kind. Those kids were not sensible and offended young Master Yi, please forgive them. Huafeng coughed twice, feeling very embarrassed. He knew best whether the Hua family had that much stone milk essence. If Yi Qinghan was not so strong and mysterious, he might have used his strength to forcefully seize Yi Qinghan's wealth. But now that the opponent was strong, he did not dare to act recklessly. Yu Qinghan sneered, waiting for Hu Feng to continue. This old man also just learned of young Master Ye's identity, and specially came to ask for forgiveness, Hu Feng said with a cupped fist salute. My identity? Yu Qinghan frowned and asked. Half an hour ago, Deacon Zhu Xing of the Lingbao Hall told me that you are the honorable winemaker of the Lingbao Hall. So, I taught my unfilial sons a lesson and came to apologize to you in person, Hu Feng said with a bitter smile. There's no need. I won't bother with them. However, you'd better make sure that some people don't have any ideas about Hu Fei, and her sister. Otherwise, the consequences will be much worse than offending me. Yu Qinghan warned coldly. Of course, they are collateral relatives of the Hu family. It is our Hu family's honor to be favored by the young master. From today onwards, the sisters will be the Hu family's direct descendants. Apart from the Hu family's patriarch, no one can order them to do anything. Hu Maple hurriedly promised. Okay. Yu Qinghan nodded. He was quite satisfied with Fire Maple's attitude. Young master, I just received news that the auction house will hold a large-scale auction in half a month. The location will be Flaming Cloud City. There will be a large number of heavenly treasures being auctioned together. At that time, the experts of ancient Lulan will come together. I wonder if young master is interested in participating. I'll get you a VIP card as a token of my apology, Fire Maple said respectfully. Okay, bring it here. Yu Qinghan's eyes lit up. He knew that there would be many treasures at the auction. The price would probably be very high as well. He would need to prepare a large number of spirit crystals and gold. Hu Maple left and returned to the Hu family's main hall with a serious expression. The Hu family's patriarch looked at Hu Maple's expression and asked in a deep voice, "What do you think of him?" Hu Maple thought for a moment and gave the most pertinent answer. He is very strong. He is only in the blood ignition realm. However, when facing him, the sense of danger I felt was even stronger than when you attacked me. He stood there like a ball of fire. He looked calm, but in fact, he could burn 100 miles with a single move. No one can escape from his pursuit. Oh. A mere blood ignition realm cultivator is actually this strong? It seems that he is not as simple as the rumors say. A glorious winemaker would not be this strong, the Hu family's patriarch said in a deep voice. Patriarch, an elite like him should not lose to a direct disciple of a fourth-rank force, right? Should we continue investigating? Hu Maple asked. There is no need to investigate. If we continue investigating, he will definitely be disgusted. Go and ask Hu Fei, and Hu Ye, if they are willing to return and become direct disciples. This can also be considered as a sign of goodwill. The Hu family's patriarch shook his head. At this moment, Yu Qinghan personally went to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion and bought a third-rank alchemy furnace. He had Zhu Xing purchase a large amount of third-rank and above spiritual herbs to refine pills and make money. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion had always cooperated with the Alchemy Pavilion and the Weapon Refining Sect. Obviously, half of the profits would be split. When he heard that Yu Qinghan knew how to refine pills, Zhu Xing was stunned for a moment. Then, he became overjoyed. Young master, since you know how to refine pills, why don't you sell them in the Spirit Treasures Pavilion? You can monopolize 60% of the profits. I guarantee that you won't have to worry about it. Zhu Xing said excitedly. All right, you will provide the materials. Buy all the materials below the 5th rank. Even simple 5th rank pills are fine. I guarantee that you will make a fortune. Yu Qinghan nodded and prepared to cooperate with Zhu Xing. Yes. Even simple 5th rank pills are fine. You are a 5th rank alchemist. Heavens, there is no 5th rank alchemist in the entire Owl Falling Star. Zhu Xing was excited and his eyes shone. If he had 5th rank pills, there would be many Grotto Heaven Realm experts fighting to buy them. Enough nonsense. Go and collect the materials. I need a large amount of spirit crystals recently. Yu Qinghan finished speaking and walked out of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion with some third-rank materials and a fourth-rank alchemy furnace. He returned to the courtyard and began refining pills. The price of second-rank pills was too low, so it was not worth wasting time. He immediately took out third-rank and above pills. The Fire Attribute Fire Spirit Pill was definitely the best of the third rank. Its price could be increased by more than 10 times. One pill would cost 10,000 gold. That was equivalent to a low-grade spirit crystal. One furnace could refine over a dozen fire spirit pills. That was equivalent to over a dozen low-grade spirit crystals. Yu Qinghan's alchemy skills had reached the pinnacle. With his true essence flames, not only could he refine pills, he could also cultivate. In an incense stick's worth of time, he could refine a furnace of pills. The purity of his true essence constantly rose. Although it was the same amount of true essence, the quality was like the difference between heaven and earth. The strength of his attacks would also increase. After refining for 2 hours, Yu Qinghan would meditate and recover his true essence. Every time he did so, he would make considerable progress. That night, Yu Qinghan had concocted at least 30 batches of medicinal pellets, 500 top-grade Tier 3 medicinal pellets, and 100 bitter sea pellets. Each bitter sea pellet was worth 100 low-grade spirit crystals, and it was priceless. It was easy to sell. After throwing over a dozen fire spirit pills to Huofei, Yu Qinghan took all the pills to the Spirit Treasure Pavilion and handed them to Zhu Xing to sell. Zhu Xing's price was more than twice as high as Yu Qinghan's. Continue to buy materials. I want as many high-grade materials as you have. It would be best if you could get me some fourth-rank spirit herbs. Yu Qinghan was a bit anxious. The price of these third-rank pills was too low. The truly expensive ones were all fourth-rank pills. Even a top-grade third-rank pill would only cost a few hundred spirit crystals. All right. Young master, don't worry. I have a customer network. I will deliver the spirit crystals to you before tomorrow. Zhu Xing patted his chest and promised. After the purchase of materials, you will take 30%. The remaining 10% will be given to the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. The remaining 60% will be sent to my residence. Yu Qinghan nodded and left the Spirit Treasure Pavilion with the purchased materials. When he returned home, Huofei, and her sister had already prepared a meal and were waiting for Yu Qinghan to enjoy. Yu Qinghan looked at Huofei, and Huoye, Ever since they started cultivating the crimson flame palm, their temperament had become even more captivating. Yu Qinghan looked at the table of food and felt his appetite increase greatly. Coupled with the fact that they were a feast for the eyes, he also sat down and enjoyed the meal. He had to admit that Huofei's cooking skills were top-notch. The food melted in his mouth and the fragrance did not dissipate. Even some of the energy in the vicious beast meat was not wasted. With one bite, he felt warm all over. This meal was very filling. Yu Qinghan sat on the chair and looked at the sisters in front of him with satisfaction. How is your cultivation of the crimson flame palm? Yu Qinghan calmly asked. I've already made some progress. Thank you for your kindness, young master. Huofei, and Huoye, respectfully replied. Practice diligently. The crimson flame palm is about the control of fire elements. The more fire elements there are in the body, the stronger the crimson flame palm will be. Also, remember to increase the purity of your Jin Yuan. Whether a cultivator is strong or not, the quality of their Jin Yuan is the most important. Yu Qinghan reminded. The two sisters nodded repeatedly, but before they could say anything, Yu Qinghan said, All right, you two can leave now. I need to go into seclusion for a period of time. No one is allowed to disturb me. After the two sisters left, Yu Qinghan returned to the guest room. He sat cross-legged on the bed and closed his eyes. He mobilized the miniature person in his sea of consciousness and began cultivating the violent saber technique. His Zhen Yuan was also tempering his body. Yi Qinghan had extremely high requirements for his body. His Zhen Yuan flowed through his limbs and bones, and his blood vessels could be clearly seen. Scalding blood surged through his veins. The Zhen Yuan in his vast qi sea churned, constantly rushing through his body and tempering his arms and legs. It was quickly consumed. An hour later, his Zhen Yuan was completely exhausted. His qi sea dried up, and a pill entered his stomach. His Zhen Yuan was quickly consumed, but at this moment, the quality of his Zhen Yuan was more than twice as sharp as before. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. The miniature person in his sea of consciousness seemed to be tireless. It was as if a martial venerable had been reborn. It attacked from the depths of his sea of consciousness like lightning. At this moment, Huo Feng arrived in the courtyard with a smile. He looked at Huo Fei, and Huo Ye, cultivating like a kind grandfather. He smiled and said, Fei, Ye, you've worked hard these past few years. Now, are you willing to return to your family and become a direct disciple of the Huo family? Huo Fei had always wanted to return to her family. But at this moment, she hesitated. Going to the Huo family might not be as good as staying by Yi Qinghan's side. Lord Elder, we need to take care of the young master these days. Can we talk about this later? Huo Fei respectfully replied. Take good care of the young master. If you want to return to the Huo family, just directly inform me. In the future, no one will dare to stop you. Huo Feng solemnly nodded. After Huo Feng left, Yi Qinghan was still bitterly cultivating. He had no idea that his sisters outside had actually given up their lifelong dream for him. His Zhen Yuan became increasingly pure, and his strength became increasingly powerful. He clenched his fists, and his veins bulged. The bottleneck of his cultivation realm actually showed signs of loosening. Yi Qinghan smiled. He wasn't in a hurry to make a breakthrough. For him, breaking through was as easy as flipping his hand. All he needed was to buy more Zhen Yuan pills. As long as he had enough Zhen Yuan, he would be able to do it. Chapter 57. Huo Fei, and Huo Ye, were cultivating the crimson flame palm in the courtyard. With the support of top-grade fire spirit pellets, they were able to achieve half the results with twice the effort. Their progress was extremely fast. When they struck out with their palms, the surrounding temperature would be scorching hot, making it unbearable. Yi Qinghan was wearing a purple battle robe that fluttered elegantly in the wind. He looked like a divine jade as he arrived at the courtyard. My Zhen Yuan isn't pure enough, and I haven't even used 10% of my fire attribute physique. The instant I strike out with the scarlet flame palm, I have to think of a way to draw out the fire element in my body. Only then can the scarlet flame palm reach its peak state. Its killing power is definitely not inferior to a mid-stage blood ignition realm existence. Young master, how can I draw out the fire element? I feel that the fire element in my body is very active, but when I attack, it disappears. I can't sense it anymore. Huo Fei, was dazed as she asked with admiration. It's not that you can't sense it, but that you don't have the energy to sense it. Your soul can't split into two and control both Zhen Yuan and fire element at the same time. Yi Qinghan shook his head. Oh. Huo Fei, felt wronged. In the younger generation, she could be considered a well-known figure. However, in Yi Qinghan's eyes, she was still unworthy. Forget it. Today, you two focus on the purity of your Zhen Yuan and help me refine pills. Yi Qinghan was prepared to properly teach these two girls. He didn't mind wasting a bit of time. I don't know how to refine pills. Huo Fei, was startled. Alchemists and blacksmiths didn't have much battle strength, but their statuses were revered. A third-grade blacksmith or alchemist would be fought over by a fourth-grade force. You don't need to know how to refine pills. As long as you burn your Jin Yuan and increase the temperature, the purity of your Jin Yuan will naturally increase. Yi Qinghan took out his alchemy furnace and had the two girls place their palms on it. Once their Jin Yuan was ignited, it turned into a ball of flame that burned the furnace. The materials inside the furnace quickly melted. Increase the flame and increase the temperature. Learn to slowly control the flow of Jin Yuan. Don't waste your Jin Yuan. Alchemy can not only make your Jin Yuan purer, it can also temper your soul. As time passed, Hua Fei, and Hua Ye's faces turned pale. Their clothes were drenched in sweat, and the temptation of being wet was enough to make one drool. However, Yi Qinghan didn't have the time to peek at them. Even if he wanted to see, they would probably be even more excited than him and would strip for him to see. The two people's quintessential essence couldn't even support a cauldron of pills before the quintessential essence in their chi seas was completely exhausted. The furnace fire gradually extinguished and Yi Qinghan took it over. He lightly said, "Take the fire spirit pill and stimulate the rebirth of your true essence." Hua Fei, and Hua Ye, each swallowed a top-grade fire spirit pill. A massive amount of fire element erupted within them, and their true essence surged like a raging river, flooding their limbs and bones. Even their souls were rapidly growing. They had never experienced such an experience before. They moaned in comfort, their cries enchanting and enchanting. An hour later, Yi Qinghan had already refined several cauldrons of pills. Hua Fei, and Hua Ye, had also recovered to their peak condition. Their quintessential essence had been tempered to an even purer state. Although their cultivation hadn't risen by much, the quality of their quintessential essence had risen by a small level. Yi Qinghan looked at the two people whose temperaments had been reborn, and couldn't help but say with satisfaction, "You two have fire attribute physiques and are very suited for alchemy. Perhaps you can learn alchemy, and your future accomplishments will far surpass your achievements in the martial path. Becoming a 5th grade or even 6th grade alchemist is highly possible." Really? 5th grade? The strongest influence on our entire owl falling star is only 4th grade. Hua Fei, said excitedly. A 5th grade alchemist was enough to establish their own sect and become a 5th grade great sect. 5th grade and 5th grade alchemists were only 1 grade apart, but the difference was thousands of miles. They weren't even on the same level. Back in the day, the 5th grade Yi family could destroy countless owl falling stars. And, go to the Spirit Treasures Pavilion and get a 2nd grade cauldron. I'll teach you how to refine pills. Yi Qinghan nodded indifferently. Raising a 4th grade alchemist was very simple. When Hua Fei heard this, she couldn't wait any longer. She immediately changed her clothes with Hua Ye, and rushed out of the house, heading straight for the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. "Parrot, follow them. There are a lot of strangers in the city today. Don't let anything happen to them," Yi Qinghan said worriedly as he watched the two run out of the courtyard. On a big tree in the courtyard, the parrot stretched lazily and reluctantly flew out of the courtyard. Its body of fat made it too lazy to move. After flying for a while, it felt a bit tired. It couldn't help but angrily say, "This body of pork belly, it's time to lose some weight. Otherwise, it'll really become a meatball. It'll affect this divine bird's martial prowess." East District, a poor district. Chen Sung's house was an ordinary wooden house. At this moment, there was actually more than one peak blood ignition expert in the house. Hee, I've already said it very clearly. This Yi Qinghan has several thousand low-grade spirit crystals on him. You guys want spirit crystals, but I only want those 2 women. How about it? Chen Sung's mouth hung an evil smile as he asked in a low voice. They're just women. We can have as many spirit crystals as we want. 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals is enough for us to squander for several months. Brothers, how about it? Let's do this deal. A bearded man said excitedly. Qin Song, are you sure his cultivation is between the middle and peak blood ignition stage and he hasn't broken through to the bitter sea stage? If you dare to lie to us, I'll break your head. You should know the reputation of the 5 tigers of South China. If you dare to use us as tools, I'll torture you to death. The peak blood ignition experts were all filled with killing intent. They had definitely killed countless people. Qin Song's aura sank as he hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoists, Qin Song, am the backbone of the Coiling Tiger Battle Squad. How can I overestimate myself and offend the 5 tigers of South China? What I said is the truth. However, Yi Qinghan's battle strength may be stronger than a normal peak blood ignition stage expert, but he definitely hasn't broken through to the bitter sea stage. I believe that the 5 of you are not inferior to him." What a joke. In terms of battle strength, other than the monstrous geniuses of the royal family, who would dare to compete with the 5 tigers of South China? Even your Coiling Tiger Battle Squad's Coiling Tiger wouldn't dare to say that he could win against us. The boss of the 5 tigers of South China, Hua Dahu, disdainfully mocked. Then shall we do it tonight? Qin Song was excited. He wanted nothing more than to tie Hua Fei, and her sister to his bed right now. Good. There's still 2 hours before dawn. We'll leave now. There's no one around, so even if we fight, no one will know. Hua Dahu said in a serious tone. The 6 of them took advantage of the night to quickly rush towards the West District, approaching the courtyard. Hua Fei, and her sister had just returned from the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. They had brought back a small pill furnace and some low-level first-grade spirit herbs. The parrot lazily sat on Huya's shoulder. As soon as they arrived at the entrance of the courtyard, it opened its sleepy eyes, narrowing them into a line as it scanned the direction of Qin Song's group. When they returned to the courtyard, Yi Qinghan was still refining pills. A large number of pills were being produced, each worth thousands of spirit crystals. I'll give you the recipe. Refine the pills yourselves and control the fire. It's fine to waste some first-grade materials. Yi Qinghan passed down some low-level pill recipes and his experience to Hua Fei, and Hua Fei, Then, he began to recover his true yuan. The moonlight poured down and a wisp of spring wind brushed past. Tender shoots rushed out of the withered branches, blooming with boundless vitality. The red flowers absorbed the moonlight's spiritual energy and became even more beautiful. "Master, there are some rascals outside," the parrot quietly warned. Yi Qinghan faintly smiled and nodded. "I know. Let's wait for them to come in first." Hua Dahu and Qin Song definitely wouldn't have thought that Yi Qinghan already knew of their arrival and was even waiting for them to take the initiative to attack. At this moment, they were immensely pleased with themselves. They thought that Yi Qinghan hadn't discovered them even though they had forced him to the entrance. Let's go in. If he knows what's good for him and hands over the spirit crystals, we might be able to spare his life. Otherwise, we'll cripple him. Hua Dahu was incomparably savage. He wasn't willing to restrain his aura and directly pushed open the door. Yi Qinghan was sitting on a stone bench in the courtyard. Under the moonlight, he watched as Qin Song and the others tyrannically kicked open the door. He slightly opened his eyes, and his gaze was like a torch as he stared at the 6 of them. "You're Yi Qinghan." Hua Dahu arrogantly looked down on Yi Qinghan. Seeing that he was so young, he immediately looked down on him and asked with disdain. "Yes, what's wrong?" Yi Qinghan faintly smiled. The current scene was like a millionaire arrogantly asking a billionaire. The billionaire would always look at the other party modestly, neither arrogant nor impatient. This was his foundation. "Little brat, this is your attitude after seeing your grandpa who?" "Kneel down." Hua Dahu coldly reprimanded. "Ha ha ha, Yi Qinghan, aren't you very arrogant? Why don't you dare to be arrogant in front of the 5 tigers of Huanan?" Qin Song arrogantly mocked. At this moment, Hua Fei, and Hua Dahu heard the commotion in the courtyard and immediately ran out. When they saw the 5 peak blood ignition experts and Chin Sung rushing into their house, they immediately glared angrily. Chin Sung, what are you doing? You actually came to my house to cause trouble. Tomorrow, I'll have Uncle Coiling Tiger teach you a lesson. Hua Fei angrily said. Shut up, you stinking bitch. I've followed you for 10 years and helped you do so many things. Now you want to dump me? Today, I'm going to get on top of you and make you enjoy yourself under my crotch. Chen Song's eyes were filled with resentment as he coldly smiled. His evil desire was self-evident. Hua Fei and Hua Ye's appearance caused the 5 tigers of Huanan's eyes to light up. Their greed was immediately ignited. Hua Ye and Hua Fei were beauties to begin with, and adding on their fiery figures, any man would like them. Moreover, these illegal adventurers who relied on robbing others wouldn't care about anything else. TSK, not bad. We'll take these 2 girls. Once we've enjoyed them, we'll give them to you. Hua Dahu sinisterly smiled. Didn't we agree? You want Yi Qinghan's spirit crystals, and I want these 2 women. Chen Song was startled and hastily asked. Pa! Before Chen Song could finish his sentence, Hua Eru stretched out his hand and slapped Chen Song, causing him to become dizzy and fall headfirst into the flower pot beside him. Shut up! Since when did you have the right to refute what we've decided? If you dare say another word, I'll send you to hell. You won't even be able to drink a single mouthful of soup. Hua Dahu coldly warned. Yi Qinghan looked at Chen Song as if he was looking at an idiot. How could it be fair to make a deal with such a person? And he still wanted to take the lion's share. He was truly an idiot. Brat, you'd better listen to us and hand over all the spirit crystals. Once we're done with these 2 women, we'll give them to you. We won't treat you unfairly. Otherwise, you'll end up like that bastard Chen Song. Hua Dahu sinisterly threatened. Chapter 58. Hua Sanhu's words infuriated Chen Song, but he did not dare to say another word. Hua Fei and her sister were so scared that their faces turned purple. There were 5 of them at the peak of the blood ignition realm. Once they joined forces, they were comparable to an early-stage bitter sea expert. Could Yi Qinghan really defeat them? It was not that Hua Fei did not believe in Yi Qinghan's strength, but that the opponents were too strong. Hua Ye hid behind Yi Qinghan, trembling. She looked at the 5 tigers of South China in horror, and looked at Chen Song with hatred. She wanted nothing more than to cut him in half. Yi Qinghan's face became cold, and the corners of his mouth rose. He flipped his hand, and a spirit crystal full of spirit energy appeared in his palm. It emitted a faint spirit pressure that made people drool. Is this what you want? Yi Qinghan pretended to be afraid and prepared to compromise. Ha ha ha, kid, you really know what's good for you. Give me your Qiankun ring. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let you play with them later. Hua Sanhu laughed wildly, and reached out to grab the ring in Yi Qinghan's hand. Hua Sanhu approached Yi Qinghan without any defense. In his eyes, Yi Qinghan would not dare to resist, unless he wanted to die. But his feeling was wrong, and the consequences would be severe. Hua Sanhu and Yi Qinghan were less than a meter apart. At this distance, it was impossible to explode with too much power, so the other 4 tigers did not care too much. Yi Qinghan's aura suddenly changed. He clenched his fist, and crushed the spirit crystal. Spirit energy poured into his fist, and he used the inch strike to the extreme. Boom! In the blink of an eye, Yi Qinghan's fist collided with Hua Sanhu's chest. The energy contained within the entire spirit crystal poured into Hua Sanhu's body. The spiritual energy tore apart his life force and destroyed his qi, blood, and vitality completely. Ah! Hua Sanhu's figure flew backwards. From the outside, he didn't seem to have any injuries. However, his internal organs had all turned into dust and fused together with his blood. Before the few people in the courtyard could react, Hua Sanhu had already smashed through the door and was thrown more than 10 meters away. After Yu Qinghan killed third Tiger Hua, his body moved and his afterimages filled the entire courtyard. He punched out with both fists, aiming for fourth Tiger Hua and fifth Tiger Hua's throats. Hua Dahu and the others felt their hair stand on end. They never thought that Yu Qinghan would take the initiative to make a move. They immediately rushed towards Yu Qinghan in a frenzy, hoping that he would retreat and save the lives of their two brothers. However, Yu Qinghan's speed was extremely fast. All they could see were afterimages. The moment their moves touched the afterimages, they immediately dispersed. Meanwhile, Yu Qinghan's fist was right at the throats of China's 4 tigers and 5 tigers. Crack! Puff! The 2 tigers didn't even have time to use their Jin Yuan and were instantly sealed by Yu Qinghan's Jin Yuan. Yu Qinghan's sharp Jin Yuan flooded their qi, blood, and meridians, causing them to be in a mess. In addition, their throats were pierced, causing them to lose all sensation below the neck. They couldn't control their lower body and their bodies were distorted to the point that they were about to explode. Die! Yu Qinghan's fists changed into palms and his moves changed instantly. He roared, downward style. Boom! The side of his palms were like sharp weapons, ruthlessly smashing their throats. The 2 tigers' eyes bulged and blood spurted out of their orifices. Their knees fell down heavily, smashing the stone floor into pieces. 3 of the 5 tigers were killed in an instant. Chen Song's face was pale with fright. No matter who won this time, he wouldn't have a good ending. Hua Dahu and Hua Eru's bodies were cold and their movements were stiff. Their breathing stagnated and their qi and blood were sluggish. Their combat strength had dropped by a great deal. As they looked at Yu Qinghan's eyes, they didn't know what to do and retreated several steps. This was too terrifying. He had instantly killed 3 peak blood ignition realm martial artists and they hadn't even had time to react. At this time, let alone Hua Dahu, even the young monstrous geniuses of Owl Fall Star would tremble in fear. Hua Dahu sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't dare to resist Yu Qinghan. He turned around and threw himself at Hua Fei. As for Hua Eru, he naturally threw himself at Hua Ya, wanting to use their lives to threaten Yu Qinghan. You don't know the meaning of death. Yu Qinghan crushed the stone floor with his foot and turned into a divine dragon. He used his extreme Dao technique and instantly circled around the 2 tigers. He brought Hua Fei, and Hua Ya, 100 meters away and rushed out of the courtyard house. Hua Dahu only felt his eyes flashing. In the courtyard house, other than the 2 empty corpses and the trembling Qin Song, there was no sign of Yu Qinghan or Hua Fei. Did we offend an exalted Grotto Heaven realm martial artist? This guy isn't at the peak of the blood ignition realm. He definitely isn't. We were tricked by this bastard. Hua Dahu roared and glared at Qin Song. He felt that Qin Song had done this on purpose. He couldn't help but wave his hand and punch through Qin Song's chest. Qin Song was only at the initial stage of the blood ignition realm and was still a step away from the middle stage. How could he be a match for Hua Dahu? Bang! With a muffled sound, Qin Song's body exploded. The sharp True Origin Qi blade shattered his body into pieces. Ah! Qin Song screamed and wailed, Exalted One, I didn't do this on purpose. I really didn't know he was so strong. Fuck. I don't care if I can escape today. You must die first and accompany my 3 dead brothers. Hua Dahu and Hua Eru drew their swords and slashed wildly, splitting Qin Song's body into dozens of pieces. Blood flowed all over the ground. After venting his anger, Eru finally calmed down. When he saw Yu Qinghan appear again, his body trembled. Mr. Yi, my brothers were blind and were bewitched by this bastard to attack you. Our 3 dead brothers definitely won't blame you. Please be magnanimous and we are willing to make up for our mistakes. Hua Dahu bowed and didn't dare to show any disrespect. Oh. How do you want to make up for your mistakes? Yi Qinghan blocked the entrance and asked with his brows raised. We are willing to offer 500 spirit crystals. To vent exalted one's anger, Hua Dahu hurriedly replied 500 for 2 people and 250 for 1 person. That's quite cheap, Yi Qinghan said calmly. No, 500 per person. Hua Dahu thought Yi Qinghan thought it was too little and hurriedly explained. Yes, Mr. Yi, 500 per person. We are just small fries to you. It doesn't matter if you kill us or not. Please be magnanimous and spare our lives. Hua Eru hurriedly begged for mercy. He didn't dare to take any chances. Actually, Yi Qinghan's voice was low. He purposely lowered his voice and looked down at the two of them. Actually what? Hua Dahu and Hua Eru hurriedly raised their heads and asked. Actually, if I kill you, the spirit crystals will still be mine. Swish. The blade flashed and cut through the sky. A long howl reverberated in all directions. A cold light flashed and blood splattered everywhere. 2 heads were separated from their bodies. Hua Dahu and Hua Eru thought Yi Qinghan would let them go for the spirit crystals. They didn't even think of resisting. Since they couldn't win even if they resisted, they might as well lower their stance and let Yi Qinghan have no reason to kill them. However, Yi Qinghan was a resolute person. How could he give up his decision for 500 spirit crystals? Besides, even if he killed them, the interspatial ring would still belong to him. All the spirit crystals inside would belong to him. There was no need to share with them. Yi Qinghan reached out and took off the 6 yin-yang rings. He discovered that Hua Dahu had at least 5,000 low-grade spirit crystals, countless pills, several grade 3 spirit herbs, and countless grade 2 spirit herbs. The other 4 tigers had about the same amount of spirit crystals. They all had around 3,000 spirit crystals. To be able to collect so many spirit crystals at the peak of the blood ignition realm on Owl Fall planet where resources were scarce, one could imagine how many people these people had killed. As for Qin Sung's yin-yang ring, Yi Qinghan lost interest after a glance. Yi Qinghan put away all 18,000 spirit crystals. As for the grade 2 spirit pills and spirit herbs, he gave them all to Hua Fei. These things were simply a waste of space for him. Parrot, burn their corpses. Yi Qinghan lifted his feet and flew up, kicking the corpses of the 4 tigers and Qin Sung out of the courtyard. He then cleaned them and remodeled the courtyard, making it even more majestic than before. The parrot set a fire, burning the corpses of the 5 tigers of South China and Qin Sung until not even ashes remained. The wind blew and the stream flowed, returning them to nature. Hua Fei and Hua Fei's expressions hadn't recovered from the false alarm. They looked at the 2 yin-yang rings that Yi Qinghan had casually tossed out. When they saw the yin-yang rings, they were immediately stunned. The yin-yang rings contained at least several 100,000 gold taels, as well as a large amount of grade 2 spirit pills and materials. These things were several years of the Coiling Tiger battle team's income. That night, Hua Fei and Hua didn't sleep at all. It wasn't that they didn't want to sleep, but that they couldn't sleep at all. Their minds were filled with images of Yi Qinghan casually killing the 5 tigers of South China. The next day, Hua Feng represented the Hua family to deliver a VIP card and 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan accepted them all without any hesitation. After Yi Qinghan accepted the 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals, the Hua family actually felt a bit more relieved. Young master, if there's anything you like at the auction house, just say the word. The Hua family will definitely do our best. Hua Feng said respectfully. No need. If I like something, I'll buy it myself. If there's nothing else, you can go back. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Hua Feng didn't dare to say anything more. The Hua family already knew that the 5 tigers of South China had attacked Yi Qinghan last night. After all, this was the Hua family's territory. The upper echelons of the Hua family knew that Yi Qinghan was a barrel of gunpowder. It was a miracle that he hadn't killed all of the Fire Qilin army. After Hua Feng left, the Spirit Treasures Pavilion's Deacon Zhu Sheng personally came to the courtyard and respectfully presented a grade 3 yin-yang ring. Yi Qinghan looked at the ring and couldn't help but glance at Zhu Sheng. Young Master Yi, I sold more than 500 spirit pills for a total of 30,000 low-grade spirit crystals. After deducting the cost of the materials, I took 20% and the Spirit Treasures Pavilion took 10%. The rest is all yours. Zhu Sheng smiled and said, grade 3 spirit pills are in short supply. The customers said that as long as there are more, they are willing to buy them at a high price. Okay, I got it. Thank you. Yi Qinghan nodded slightly. It seemed that Zhu Sheng was quite capable. 20% of the profit wasn't much. It could save him a lot of trouble. You're too polite. It's my honor to serve the honorable elder. Zhu Sheng replied humbly. Even when facing the head of the Hua family, this kind of big shot was neither servile nor overbearing. He was even arrogant. However, in front of Yi Qinghan, he didn't dare to be presumptuous. He gave Yi Qinghan enough face. Chapter 59. Deacon Zhu, help me keep an eye out for news from the Kingdom of Green Sun, especially the Skysword sect. If something big happens, remember to inform me. Also, there's news about the Blood Fiends. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment. He was still worried about Yi Mengxi and Wang Shi, so he decided to make some inquiries. Don't worry, there will be news tomorrow. Zhu Sheng patted his chest and promised. His eyes flashed, then he said, oh right, the auction house is going to hold a large-scale auction that involves the entire ancient Lulan. Are you interested? I already know. I've also received a VIP card. Help me prepare more spirit crystals. Also, transfer 100,000 spirit crystals from other places. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. 100,000 spirit crystals was enough to buy a city. Zhu Sheng could not help but be surprised. Seeing that Yi Qinghan did not seem to be joking, he said seriously, transferring 100,000 spirit crystals is not a small amount. It must be approved by the elders of the Lulan Treasure Pavilion. Please allow me to apply to the higher-ups. Tell them that I can use 3rd grade or 4th grade martial arts techniques to purchase them. I have plenty of unparalleled offensive or defensive martial arts techniques. It's just a matter of whether they can afford them. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and decided to turn these useless martial arts techniques into treasures. Grade 3 or even grade 4 martial skills. Sell them in bulk? Did I hear wrongly? Zhu Sheng was shocked. Grade 3 martial skills were already worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of lower-grade spirit crystals. As for grade 4 martial skills, one would have to use middle-grade spirit crystals or even upper-grade spirit crystals to buy them. The key was that grade 4 martial skills rarely appeared on Owl Fall Star. Every time one appeared, it would attract countless Grotto Heaven Realm experts. Help me with this, and I won't mistreat you. Yi Qinghan gave Zhu Sheng a deep look, a warning in his eyes. Thank you, Elder, for your appreciation. I will do it right away. Zhu Sheng respectfully retreated. Many unfamiliar experts suddenly appeared in Flaming Cloud City. The weakest was at the peak of the Blood Ignition realm. Some of the younger disciples looked to be in their 20s, but many of them were already at the Bitter Sea realm. The Crown Prince of Ancient Lulan, Lu Outyen, descended from the sky. His mount was a 3rd-grade vicious beast, the Burning Sky Sparrow. Just this Burning Sky Sparrow alone could kill a 3-star Bitter Sea stage expert. Beside Lu Ao Tian were 2 old men at the 7 stars of the Bitter Sea stage and above. They were the Tao protectors that ancient Lulan had given him. They were loyal and devoted, and their chi and blood were vigorous. They were incomparably tyrannical. Flaming Cloud City's city lord, Hua Xiao, Hua family's patriarch, Hua Qingtian, and Grand Elder, Hua Feng, had all arrived outside Flaming Cloud City to welcome them. Lu Outyan's face was cold and indifferent. He had a jade-like face and a vigorous body. His white robe fluttered in the wind, and he held the Heaven Observation Sword in his hand. He stood out like a crane among chickens. His cultivation had already reached the 3rd level of the Bitter Sea stage, and was one of the best of the younger generation of the entire Owl Falling Star. Flaming Cloud City's city lord Hua Xiao greets Your Highness the Crown Prince. The Hua clan's patriarch, Hua Qingtian, welcomes Your Highness on behalf of the Hua clan. Flaming Cloud City's Chen family welcomes Your Highness the Crown Prince. Almost all the major factions of Flaming Cloud City had come, giving Lu Outyan enough face. It was clear how much prestige he had in Lulan. And, thank you for your hospitality. I am tired from the recent journey, I will visit you one by one another day. Lu Outyan said indifferently with cupped fists. Your Highness is too courteous. If you can step into the humble class, we will definitely welcome you. Everyone echoed. City Lord Hua Xiao, please bring me to the inn. Lu Outyan looked disdainfully at everyone, proudly stepping on the burning sky sparrow, but it made people feel that he was born with the bearing of a king. There was not the slightest feeling of discomfort. Yes. Your Highness. Hua Xiao's face was rosy, extremely excited. Outside Flaming Cloud City, there were many cultivators and commoners, just to see Lu Outyan's face. Yi Qinghan looked from afar, his eyes like torches. He discovered that this person was indeed an invincible expert of the younger generation. Although he was only at the 3rd level of the Bitter Sea stage, he was absolutely comparable to the 5th star of the Bitter Sea stage. Ha ha ha, Lu Outyan, I did not expect you to come earlier than me. A flame shot out from the void, sweeping in all directions. A huge pressure shrouded Flaming Cloud City, and a dense evil aura made people's hair stand on end. Even the Hua family's patriarch was shaken. Lu Outyan squinted his eyes and looked into the distance. His fingers moved the heaven-observing sword chi crisscrossed, and battle intent overflowed. It's Xian Wuyu, old demon Shi Feng's eldest disciple. He can actually fly. Is he already a Grotto Heaven stage expert? No, impossible. He was only at the 4th star of the Bitter Sea stage a while ago. How old is he? 27 or 28 years old, how can he be at the Grotto Heaven stage? This guy is not to be trifled with. With a Grotto Heaven stage expert as his backer, he can run amok in Owl Falling Star. In addition, he has an invincible battle strength. Only someone like Lu Outyan can stand shoulder to shoulder with him. Everyone discussed animatedly, their expressions changing slightly. The Hua family's patriarch bowed, extremely humble. Yi Qinghan frowned, a sense of vigilance surging from his heart. He stared at the scarlet-red wings on Xian Wuyu's back, like a phoenix, and said in a low voice, I did not expect Owl Falling Star to have a 5th grade, True Spirit Dao wing. The cultivation technique he cultivates is similar to the demonic path. A terrifying king of the younger generation. Even in Owl Dragon region, he can be ranked at the top. Why would he appear in such a small city? The aura of Flaming Cloud City changed, becoming oppressive. More and more experts gathered, and those at the peak of the Blood Ignition realm had to leave with their tails between their legs. Bitter Sea stage experts were everywhere, as if all the Bitter Sea stage experts on Owl Falling Star had come. Boom, heaven and earth suddenly roared. A figure swept across the sky, and a pressure suppressed the momentum of heaven and earth. Flaming Cloud City fell to their knees, and Lu Outyan and Xian Wuyu were intimidated, bowing slightly. Grotto Heaven Stage. A Grotto Heaven Stage expert had appeared. What was ancient Lulan auctioning this time? Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank slightly, the pressure in his heart growing stronger and stronger. He felt that something was targeting him. As expected, Zhu Sheng, who had just left, hurried to the side of the courtyard. Yi Qinghan leapt, rushing over from a nearby mountain. Looking at Zhu Sheng's pale face, he asked in a serious voice, "What happened?" "There's news about you, very bad news," Zhu Sheng said in a low voice. "What news? Speak," Yi Qinghan said coldly. "Someone offered 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals to take your life, and 500 low-grade spirit crystals, to take the lives of Yi Mengxi and the Wang family. It should be related to you." Zhu Sheng stared at Yi Qinghan, discovering that there was an ominous glint in Yi Qinghan's eyes. Even a 4-star bitter sea stage expert like him was shocked. He felt that everything within 100 meters had been imprisoned, and it was extremely difficult to even move. "Gotcha!" Yi Qinghan clenched his iron fist, killing intent bursting out. The cold and lonely aura was unbearable, and Zhu Sheng retreated several steps. "Who offered 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals?" Yi Qinghan was puzzled. He did not seem to have offended any super existence, so how could someone offer 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals? This was not 1,000 low-grade spirit crystals. The exchange rate of middle-grade spirit crystals for low-grade spirit crystals was 100. 100,000 low-grade spirit crystals was enough to make experts at the peak of the bitter sea stage go crazy. As for the 500 low-grade spirit crystals, it should have been paid by Situ Yunxiao's death soldiers. Yi Qinghan was not too worried. Those who would be interested in 500 spirit crystals were at most in the blood ignition realm. He believed that Yi Mengxi could protect herself and the Wang family, not to mention Jian Qinxue was by her side. "Xue Sha, this killing order is the ultimate killing order issued by Xue Sha. They will not rest until you die," Zhu Sheng said in a low voice. "Xue Sha." Yi Qinghan's brows tightened. He could roughly guess that Xue Sha wanted to establish their power. In these years, Xue Sha had never been defeated, but they had been defeated by him twice. Furthermore, their employer had been killed. The higher-ups of Xue Sha must be furious to offer such a high price to kill him. "I know. From today onwards, we will contact each other. I will look for you, so don't come looking for me again. Tell Hu Feier and her sister to go to the Hu family. Don't stay here anymore." Yi Qinghan turned and left, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. A Grotto Heaven Realm expert came from outside the city. The patriarch of the Hu family bowed and bent his knees, sweat dripping down his face and his breathing rapid. Ao Tian greets Senior Nangong. Xian Wuyu greets Martial Uncle Nangong. The two young talents bowed slightly, neither servile nor overbearing, and revealed the origin of the newcomer. In the entire Owl Falling Star, there were not many people with the surname Nangong. There was only one person at the Grotto Heaven Realm, Nangong Shenfeng. He had already reached the second step of the Grotto Heaven Realm, the Heaven Dance Realm. Even the monarch of ancient Lulan had to be courteous to him. Nangong Shenfeng coldly glanced at the two and said in a hoarse voice, "What? Are you two juniors here for that thing as well?" "Ah. Senior, treasures belong to those who are fated to obtain them. Whether or not one can obtain them depends on one's ability and luck. I'm confident in my luck, so I came to try. If I can obtain it, then that's good, but if I can't, then I won't force it," Lu Outyen said indifferently. "Ha, Martial Uncle Nangong, my master told me to come and take a look. He said that there is a fortune for me here, but it could also be a nightmare. So I came to take a look. If it's mine, then it's mine. If it's not mine, then it should be mine in the end. Martial Uncle won't fight with me over it, right?" Xian Wuyu's eyes flickered with a dark light. "Humph, ignorant." Nangong Shenfeng sneered and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He turned and left, ignoring the Hu family. Hu Feng and the others were angry, but they didn't dare to say anything. After all, the Hu family didn't have a Grotto Heaven expert. "Brother Xian, I heard that more than 5 of the top 10 young kings of Owl Falling Star will come. Let's have a gathering in a few days. If you're interested, you can come and help me. Lu Outyen said indifferently. I don't like to be restricted by others, so I'll pass. I've accepted a mission this time, so I won't talk to you anymore. See you at the auction. Xian Wuyu said with disdain. How could someone like him join the ancient Lulan Crown Prince's camp? Mission? Are you talking about Xuesha's bounty order? He's also in Flaming Cloud City. Lu Outyen was stunned and asked in a low voice. What? A high and mighty crown prince like you wants to accept a mission. This mission is definitely mine. You better not interfere. Xian Wuyu warned coldly. Xian Wuyu didn't hide anything and targeted Yi Qinghan. The true spirit Dao wings on his back suddenly spread out and dyed half the sky red. Chapter 60. Flaming Cloud City, however, was like falling into an ice cave. It was so cold that it was unbearable. Experts of the blood ignition realm did not dare to be impudent. All the super geniuses of ancient Lulan and even the geniuses of Owl Falling Star had arrived. They were all at the first star of the Bitter Sea stage. Lu Outyen and Xian Wuyu were already at the 3rd or 4th level of the Bitter Sea stage. On the day leisure appeared, he went straight to Huofei's courtyard where Yi Qinghan was. Unfortunately, it was empty. Yi Qinghan was not there, and even Huofei and Huoye were not there. Yi Qinghan was dressed in a black robe, with a bamboo hat on his head. The 7-foot berserker was wrapped in a layer of cloth. His aura was restrained, making him mysterious. Standing at the top of the mountain and looking at the courtyard, watching Xian Wuyu's departing figure, his brows furrowed. This Xian Wuyu was definitely an elite of the younger generation. With the addition of the 5th grade True Spirit Dao wings, he could fly at the Bitter Sea stage. This kind of person was already invincible in the Bitter Sea stage. Even he could not withstand Xian Wuyu's protracted battle of attrition. The blood fiends, in order to save their reputation, are willing to pay such a huge price. Yi Qinghan muttered. Seeing Xian Wuyu leave, he once again returned to the courtyard. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is also the safest place. Master, we may not be able to move an inch from now on, the parrot said helplessly. Berserker opens the way, those who block the way will be killed. To me, there is no difference, Yi Qinghan said coldly. Yi Qinghan burned pills in the courtyard, madly cultivating. His true yuan was exhausted time and time again, like a flood, it erupted again. His body was refined time and time again, becoming stronger and stronger. The purity of his true yuan also became higher and higher. There was a lot of progress. The next day, Yi Qinghan took advantage of the fact that the sky was still dark to come to the Spirit Treasure Pavilion. Zhu Xing saw Yi Qinghan inexplicably appear in his room and felt a chill run down his spine. Elder's movement technique is good. I am a 4-star Bitter Sea stage expert, but I did not notice how you came to my room, Zhu Xing said respectfully. What price has the Lingbao Pavilion decided to pay for the martial skills? Yi Qinghan asked directly. Elder Yi, I can't make the decision on this matter. However, the Elder Pavilion has already sent someone over. They will arrive this afternoon. Zhu Xing said in a low voice. Okay, got it. Yi Qinghan nodded slightly and asked again, where did Qin Zheng take Yimengshi and Wang Shi? The Elder Cabinet has personally sent someone to welcome them. They have already arrived at the headquarters in Qingzhou. You can rest assured that Yi Qinghan, Yimengshi, Wang Shi, and Jian Qinxue are absolutely safe. Zhu Xing promised solemnly, fearing that Yi Qinghan would not be satisfied. After Yi Qinghan learned of Yimengshi's location, he chose a private room to rest and quietly waited for the elders of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to arrive. In the afternoon, a faint pressure came from outside the Lingbao Hall. It was very weak and low-key. If not for Yi Qinghan's vigilance, he would not have noticed it. Grotto Heaven Realm. The Spirit Treasures Pavilion actually sent a Grotto Heaven Realm expert to trade. It seems that they are very vigilant. However, I have to be on guard against any sneak attacks. Yi Qinghan held the saber core in his hand and could release a thunderous force at any time. Whoever wanted to sneak attack would be instantly killed by him. Dong dong dong, a few crisp knocks on the door broke the silence of the private room. Mr. Yi, Elder Qin wants to see you. Zhu Xing said respectfully. Come in. Yi Qinghan stood up and looked at the white-haired old man who pushed the door open and entered. He was somewhat similar to Qin Zheng. His eyebrows were straight and his aura was very strong. His pure eyes shot out a light that made people submit to him. However, the vigilance in his heart did not relax. After all, one may know a person for a long time without knowing his true nature. Mr. Yi, I am Qin Shan, Qin Zheng's father and the third elder of the Qin clan. I am here to trade with you on behalf of the Qin clan. The old man said in a low voice. Can you make all the decisions? Yi Qinghan asked in a serious voice. Of course, Mr. Yi is a divine talent. My son has always told me that you are the reincarnation of a great being. Although I don't believe in reincarnation, but my son worships you so much. He must have his reasons. I believe that Mr. Yi will not deceive the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. Qin Shan stared at Yi Qinghan and said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan smiled slightly. No matter how much Qin Shan believed in him, he still had to demonstrate the cultivation technique and explain its power and main points. Only then could he sell the cultivation technique at the highest price. Otherwise, no matter how much he said, Qin Shan would not buy it. Zhu Sheng, arrange a cultivation room for me. A cultivation room that can support the attacks of the Bitter Sea stage. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Hearing this, Zhu Sheng hurriedly brought Yi Qinghan and Qin Shan to the central area of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. This was a room that had been specially remodeled. It could support the attacks of experts at the 5 stars of the Bitter Sea stage. The formations inside were in a cycle that could not be broken unless one was at the heavenly cave. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, indicating for Zhu Sheng to leave. Looking at the 18 types of weapons in the cultivation room, he could not help but nod his head in satisfaction. For the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to be able to reach this step, it was not a coincidence. It was because the requirements for one's own strength were extremely frightening. Xiao, a low-grade metal sword was grabbed by Yi Qinghan through the air. Holding it in his hand, the ordinary metal weapon became incomparably majestic in his hand. The sword qi was unstoppable, as if it was about to rush into Qin Shan's body. Qin Zheng's pupils shrank. Just from Yi Qinghan's move, everything was clear. Ordinary people would not be able to do this. 9 Sword Style, a 4th-grade martial technique. It is an offensive secret technique with unparalleled offensive power. It can be cultivated to the 4th step of the Heavenly Cave stage. If one is of the younger generation with great talent, they can use this secret technique to comprehend the way of the sword. Yi Qinghan held the metal sword, like a sharp sword that could tear apart the heavens and earth, proudly standing between the mortal world. A total of 9 swords. The first sword, sword drawing style, Yi Qinghan suddenly drew his sword. The ordinary metal sword actually emitted sword qi. The sword force rose. The sword was like a rainbow, piercing straight towards Qin Shan. Its speed was extremely fast, causing Qin Shan's hair to stand on end. His figure hurriedly retreated, quickly leaving his original position. He barely dodged Yi Qinghan's attack, but a strand of hair fluttered down, causing him to be shocked. What a fast sword drawing style! Qin Shan looked at Yi Qinghan cautiously, afraid that he would use the second sword. The second sword, sword raising style. Whoosh! A cold light flashed, causing Qin Shan's eyes to feel a piercing pain. It was as if his eyes were pierced by the sword qi. He subconsciously tried to block it, but he realized that this sword had at least 10,000 pounds of force. Looking at the power of Yi Qinghan's casual attack, although it seemed simple, it contained countless techniques and explosive power. The Nine Swords style was definitely one of the best fourth-grade martial techniques. A normal metal sword has such power. If it was supported by a fourth-grade martial technique, I might be able to fight against a third-step Heavenly Cave stage martial artist, Hidden Dragon stage martial artist. Qin Shan's face was flushed red. He was also at the second step of Heavenly Cave stage, Heaven Dance steps, similar to Nangong Shenfeng. Unfortunately, his martial technique was too weak, so he had been hidden away by the Qin family. The sixth sword, collapsing sword style. The ninth sword, returning sword style. After the ninth sword, Qin Zheng clenched his fists tightly, unable to control his excitement. Mr. Yi, how many spirit crystals is this Nine Swords style worth? Qin Shan asked excitedly. 50,000 middle-grade spirit crystals, non-negotiable, Yi Qinghan said calmly as he sheathed his sword. 50,000 middle-grade spirit crystals was not expensive. In history, there had been cases where a fourth-grade martial technique was auctioned off, and the price was more than 50,000 middle-grade spirit crystals. However, Yi Qinghan was not suitable for auctioning these things, so he could only sell them to the Qin family. All right. I'll buy it. Qin Shan said without hesitation. How many spirit crystals did you bring? Yi Qinghan asked seriously. 100,000 middle-grade spirit crystals and 3 million lower-grade spirit crystals. Qin Shan said quickly. 100,000 middle-grade spirit crystals and 3 million lower-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and decided to buy them all. He also found a few fourth-grade martial techniques and 7 or 8 third-grade martial techniques for Qin Shan. They were definitely the best of the best. Lingbao Pavilion had definitely profited from this. Qin Shan was getting more and more excited. He looked at Yi Qinghan as if he was a treasure trove, constantly spitting out super-secret techniques. His eyes were getting brighter and brighter. Mr. Yi, do you have any fifth-grade martial techniques for sale? Lingbao Pavilion will buy it even if we have to sell everything we have. Qin Shan's eyes were filled with anticipation. There was no fifth-grade martial technique in the entire Al-Fall Star. Whether it was a fifth-grade martial technique or a fifth-grade sect, this was a dividing line. An ordinary fifth-grade martial technique. It's not the best. It's only a lower-grade martial technique. How many upper-grade spirit crystals can you offer? Yi Qinghan asked calmly. These things were useless to him, so he might as well collect some upper-grade spirit crystals. There really is a fifth-grade martial technique. You. Qin Shan was shocked speechless. Although he asked if there were any fifth-grade martial techniques for sale, he did not have much hope. After all, a fifth-grade martial technique was different from a fourth-grade martial technique. It was not something that could be bought anywhere. I only have one fifth-grade martial technique. It's called Great Floating Cloud Hand. A floating cloud will fall from the sky. It can seal the sky and crack the earth. If you can afford it, I'll sell it to you for 100,000 upper-grade spirit crystals. Yi Qinghan said calmly. The Great Floating Cloud Hand was not a valuable martial technique. A real fifth-grade sect would not be interested in this martial technique because its power might not even be as good as a fourth-grade martial technique. However, it was a genuine fifth-grade martial technique. Many people in the other main stars of the Al-Fall Star region were practicing this martial technique, so no one would associate it with him. 100,000 upper-grade spirit crystals. Qin Zheng's face changed slightly. The entire Lingbao Pavilion did not have that many upper-grade spirit crystals. If they were to sell all of them at once and they could not find the spirit crystal mine in time, the Lingbao Pavilion would have a cash flow problem and could easily go bankrupt. I'll give you the 9 sword style and the other rank 4 and rank 3 martial skills first. Pay me 100,000 middle spiritual crystals first. As for the rank 5 martial skills, if you can't gather 100,000 middle spiritual crystals by the time the auction starts, then we'll call it a day. Yi Qinghan stared at Qin Shan with an intimidating gaze. There are still 7 days left. I'll do it right away. Qin Shan did not even want to look at the 5th grade martial technique. After paying 100,000 middle grade spirit crystals and 1,000,000 lower grade spirit crystals, Yi Qinghan transferred all of the martial technique's memories into his mind. His face was flushed and he was extremely excited. Is he really the reincarnation of an almighty person? I'm afraid that even a 5th grade sect might not have these martial techniques. Qin Shan muttered in his heart. He did not dare to have any evil thoughts. After all, Qin Zheng had told him not to offend Yi Qinghan before he came. I will be here for the next few days. I hope you can come back before the auction starts. Yi Qinghan said as he put away the saber core. Mr. Yi, the head of the Qin clan will come personally in 5 days at most. Even if we have to join forces with other clans, we must get this 5th grade martial technique. Who knows, maybe it can let the Lingbao Pavilion become a 5th grade sect. Qin Shan said excitedly. No, I don't want my identity to be exposed. I don't trust any other clan except the Qin clan. Especially at this time, I don't want Shueisha to go crazy and keep an eye on me. Yi Qinghan quickly rejected Qin Shan's suggestion. Chapter 61. The night in Flaming Cloud City had become a little restless. Many heroes had come in droves and would start fighting over a single word of disagreement. Yi Qinghan was deep in the center of the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. He was not disturbed, but the pressure was getting stronger. Many people from the Blood Fiends had already appeared. Their cultivation was above the 4th star of the Bitter Sea stage. There are more and more people. It is not good for me. I cannot let them gather together. I have to take the initiative to attack. Yi Qinghan revealed a cold smile. Assassination, who could be better than him? After muttering to himself, Yi Qinghan wore a black bamboo hat and black clothes. He carried the 7 feet heavy sword on his back and held the blood-red dagger he took from Marugi. He quietly left the Spirit Treasures Pavilion. At the inn of Flaming Cloud City, Lu Outyan brought 2 protectors to check in. They were surrounded by a large number of Fire Qilin army. It was difficult for anyone to get close. Lu Outyan stood at the top of the building, looking down at the land. His eyes were serious. As the Crown Prince of Lulan, he knew that Flaming Cloud City was at the heart of the struggle. Old Chen, help me investigate the news about Yi Qinghan. See if he is in Flaming Cloud City. Lu Outyan said in a low voice. A protector respectfully left. Only an old man was left. He looked at Lu Outyan and asked, Your Highness, are you going to take him in or kill him for the reward? I want to try taking him in. To be able to get the Spirit Treasures Pavilion to protect him and for the Blood Fiends to kill him at all costs, he should not be a simple character. If I can keep him by my side, he may be useful. Lu Outyan said indifferently. I don't think it's worth it. Right now, many young experts have come to Flaming Cloud City. I reckon that most of them are here to kill Yi Qinghan. You might be inviting trouble for yourself. The old man reminded him in a deep voice. I know. I am just giving it a try. If I can succeed, then I will. If I can't, then I will not force it. Now is a time of trouble. I hope to fight for more talents for Lulan. Lu Aotian gazed at the night sky. Looking at the sea of people on the street, a vigorous figure attracted his attention. The black-clothed man was carrying a weapon that was almost as tall as a person. The weapon was wrapped in linen, so it was impossible to tell what kind of weapon it was. He was holding a black dagger in his hand. There was no powerful aura coming from him, but it made him feel threatened. With the bamboo hat covering his face, Lu Outyen furrowed his brows. Many young experts had come to Flaming Cloud City, so it wasn't strange for him to be dressed like this. He would never have guessed that this person was the Yi Qinghan he was looking for. Firecloud Tavern was brightly lit. Originally, there weren't many people staying here, but today, it was packed to the brim. In a few more days, there might not even be a single room left. In the restaurant downstairs, there were 3 to 5 people sitting at a table. Some of them were independent and cold, but most of them were chatting and drinking as if there was no one else around. The auction house is holding such a big auction this time. I heard that there are many good things. So many people have come this time. I'm afraid there won't be any benefits for us. But I heard that Yi Qinghan is in Flaming Cloud City. If we can kill him, 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals is not a small amount. Even Xue Sha couldn't kill him, are you sure you can? Even if you can kill him, can you find him? I heard that Yi Qinghan is very easy to recognize. His weapon is a 7-foot-long battle blade and he also has a white parrot. As long as he appears, I'm afraid he won't be able to leave Flaming Cloud City. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. They were all very interested in the 1,000 middle-grade spirit crystals. The majority of them were at the Bitter Sea stage, and some experts were close to the 6 stars of the Bitter Sea stage. Their individual battle strength was not inferior to Yi Qinghan. Once he was surrounded, it would be very easy for Yi Qinghan to fall in a prolonged battle. Yi Qinghan appeared in the inn with the heavy berserk blade on his back. His cold aura instantly attracted the attention of many people, especially the weapon wrapped in sackcloth on his back. It was even more suspicious. But the black short sword in his hand dispelled their doubts. Is he from Xue Sha? Some experts stared at the short sword in Yi Qinghan's hand. They were no longer clamoring, and their voices lowered by a few levels. The inn suddenly quieted down. Many people's gazes were locked onto Yi Qinghan. Show the weapon on your back. Put your bamboo hat aside. A cold voice was filled with a commanding tone, making it impossible for people to refuse. Then, a cold figure walked down from upstairs, causing everyone to be completely speechless. Xian Wuyu, he actually wants to attack Yi Qinghan. It seems like there's nothing for us to do. Everyone thought to themselves. They all looked at the black-clothed Yi Qinghan and Xian Wuyu. Xian Wuyu, it's not good for you to stretch your hands too far. Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse and extremely low. He found a seat and sat down, replying coldly. My hands have always been very long. Everyone in the world knows that. If you don't want to die, let me dispel my doubts. Otherwise, even if you're from Xue Sha, I'll kill you today. Xian Wuyu said coldly, holding a cold and sharp long sword. Is that so? If you have the ability, then come and try. Yi Qinghan placed the weapon on his back on the table and said casually to the waiter, bring me a few dishes of your specialty. The atmosphere in the inn became extremely oppressive. Xian Wuyu's sharp gaze swept over Yi Qinghan. His fingers moved the hilt of his sword and he pressed forward, wanting to lift the sackcloth. Dong dong dong, a few crisp footsteps broke the silence of the inn. The waiter was so frightened that he retreated, not daring to get close to the center of the inn. Lu Outyen appeared in the inn with his Dao protector and said indifferently, this Dao friend is not Yi Qinghan. Xian Wuyu, do you think everyone is Yi Qinghan? Whether I am Yi Qinghan or not, you don't have the final say. I do. Xian Wuyu didn't give any face. So what if he was the crown prince of Lulan? As long as his cultivation wasn't as high as his, he wouldn't even bother with him. Xian Wuyu, don't be too arrogant. This is Flaming Cloud City, not your home. If you dare to make a move in the center of the city, don't blame me for being impolite. Lu Outyen warned coldly. Ha ha ha, Lu Outyen, you better not interfere in today's matter. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you face. Xian Wuyu sneered. Yi Qinghan was very calm. His handsome face under the bamboo hat didn't show any emotion. His fingertips tapped on the table, causing the blood thorn to vibrate slightly. In the inn, everyone was very quiet, waiting for the confrontation between Yi Qinghan and Xian Wuyu. Xian Wuyu looked coldly at Yi Qinghan. Seeing that Yi Qinghan didn't move, Xian Wuyu was furious. His eyes flashed with killing intent as he reached out to grab the weapon on Yi Qinghan's back. Yi Qinghan pulled out his sword. The blood thorn flashed and the blood light pierced towards Xian Wuyu's throat. Its speed was extremely fast, making it impossible for anyone to react. CSI, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Seeing Yi Qinghan make a move without any warning and with such shocking power, they couldn't help but be alarmed. Xian Wuyu wasn't an ordinary person. He had a Grotto Heaven Realm expert behind him. His strength was also at the peak of Owl Fall Star. Yi Qinghan taking the initiative to make a move would be troublesome. You're courting death. Xian Wuyu was furious. Up until now, no one had dared to sneak attack him and go against his will. However, in front of Yi Qinghan, all rules were broken. Seeing that the blood thorn was about to pierce his throat, Xian Wuyu couldn't care less about his dignity and flew out of the inn. Swish, the true spirit Dao wings spread out and swept away the debris in the surroundings. Many blood ignition realm experts were directly sent flying by Xian Wuyu. Lu Outyen's pupils shrunk. Yi Qinghan's sword drawing speed was so fast that even he was shocked. He thought to himself, what a terrifying sword drawing style. Sword chi gathered without dissipating, restrained without releasing, and released with ease. He's definitely a top expert of the younger generation. After Xian Wuyu fell out of the inn, Yi Qinghan didn't move at all. He directly sheathed his sword while his divine sense enveloped the entire inn. Anyone with hostility would be his target tonight. Courting death bastard, I don't care if you're Yi Qinghan. Die for me. Xian Wuyu rushed back into the inn, stabbing back with his sword. Sword chi swept out, almost destroying the entire inn. Xian Wuyu, are you crazy? Stop right now. Lu Outyen saw Xian Wuyu rush back without any fear and directly attacked. His Heaven Observation Sword easily blocked Xian Wuyu. Boom, the two swords attacked together, deafening. The true spirit Dao wings on Xian Wuyu's back exerted force and Lu Outyen was forced back several steps before stabilizing his footing. Scram! Lu Outyen, if you dare attack again, don't blame me for falling out with you today. Xian Wuyu's fierce gaze swept over Lu Outyen, then fixed on the still calm Yi Qinghan. This is ancient Lolan's flaming cloud city. No bitter sea experts are allowed to attack in the center of the city. This is the rule. As the current crown prince, if I don't stop you, who will respect the rules of Lulan in the future? Lu Outyen retracted his sword and glared at Xian Wuyu, coldly saying, if you want to fight, I'll accompany you outside the city. Fine, you're not allowed to attack in the city, I won't argue with you. Let's see how long this brat can hide. Xian Wuyu looked coldly at Yi Qinghan's back, his killing intent evident. Yi Qinghan was indifferent. His consciousness covered the entire inn. No one's actions could escape his eyes. Suddenly, a table of people attracted his attention. There were a total of 4 people. Everyone's cultivation was not inferior to the bitter sea stage. Their aura was very similar to one person. That was Marugi. People of Blood Fiend. Yi Qinghan's heart sank, gripping the blood thorn tightly. The 4 people of Blood Fiend also noticed Yi Qinghan. The 4 of them looked at each other and shook their heads. Looking at the blood thorn in Yi Qinghan's hand, they frowned. You test him. A Blood Fiend assassin with a slightly higher cultivation said to the person beside him. A blood fiend expert stood up, arriving in front of Yi Qinghan. He clasped his fists and asked. Blood descends on the world. The blood fiend's secret signal should be blood extermination in all directions. Only the high-ranking members of the blood fiend organization knew this. Yi Qinghan did not know this, so the 4 members of Blood Fiend quickly confirmed Yi Qinghan's identity. There was a blood thorn, but he was not a member of Blood Fiend. It had to be Yi Qinghan because the only blood thorn that was exposed was the one in Marugi's hand. However, the people of Blood Fiend did not expose Yi Qinghan because they wanted to take the reward for themselves. Yi Qinghan clenched the blood thorn in his hand. He was not too surprised. At this time, the probability of encountering Blood Fiend in Flaming Cloud City was too high. Blood Fiend wanted to kill him, but he also wanted to kill Blood Fiend. Tonight, the city would be dyed red with blood. Corpses would be everywhere and the aura of death would spread. Yi Qinghan casually ate some food, then stepped out of the inn. Many people stood up and followed him out. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.